Chapter 759. The place where Tang Xinniao invited them was a private restaurant called Dong Family. In recent years, private cuisine has been favored by diners. The so-called private cuisine, as the name implies, is a private dish, that is, a specialty dish made by the host in other people's home. Authentic private cuisine usually has no store sign, no fixed menu, and even no full-time waiters. However, the cooking techniques of the dishes are often ancestral, with a unique flavor and limited supply, which can't be eaten in the restaurants in the market. Of course, the price of high-end private cuisine is very high, and it usually needs to be booked a long time in advance. Some top private restaurants only cook one table of dishes a day, and the reservation is half a year later. It is impossible to book a temporary reservation. However, it was the first time for Tang Xinniao to treat two big bosses. Therefore, Min Li, who was advising her, tried her best to find the boss of the Dong family's private home cuisine restaurant, and finally got what she wanted. In fact, there are many five-star hotels in the capital, and it doesn't need to be so troublesome to have a meal, but Min Li thinks that it can't show Tang Xinniao's sincerity, so it is the last choice. This Dong family's private home cuisine restaurant was hidden in a private courtyard on South Street. Green bricks, stone tiles, and white walls surrounded by lush green trees could be seen. The environment was very elegant. Lu Chun praised. Xinniao is good. You chose a good place. Chan Fair nodded. Xinniao can book a temporary seat. Xinniao is considerate. She has lived in the capital for a long time and is very familiar with private restaurants. She knows the difficulty of making a temporary appointment. She guessed that Tang Xinniao was lucky to meet a guest who temporarily canceled a reservation or added a seat. But it is not easy. Tang Xinniao blushed. I don't know. It's all thanks to Sister Li. Lu Chun and Chan Fair looked at each other and smiled. Both of them liked Tang Xinniao's character very much. Although her family is rich, she has never been spoiled. She is obedient and sensible. Even if she is popular now, she is no different from before. Min Li said with a smile, I don't dare to take credit. They heard that two big stars, Boss Lu and Boss Chun, are coming, so they specially held a special dinner to invite you. Lu Chun couldn't help laughing. Lu, she really chose the right person to assign Tang Xinniao as an assistant. The door to the courtyard was tightly shut. Min Li went forward and lightly knocked on the lion head door. Not long after, someone opened the door from the inside. The one who opened the door was a chubby, jubilant-looking man with a round head. When he saw Lu Chun and the others standing at the door, his two small eyes immediately narrowed into two slits. He cupped his hands in obeisance and said with a smile, I heard the magpies singing just now, so I knew that distinguished guests had arrived. It's my honor to have you all visit my little restaurant. His Beijing accent was very smooth, and his smile was sincere and respectful, making people feel very comfortable listening to him. Min Li asked, Are you Mr. Dong? That's right. The fatty grinned and said, You must be Sister Min. This way, please. Under his guidance, everyone followed over the threshold and moved forward along the stone path. As the refreshing jasmine fragrance hit their nostrils, they couldn't help but feel refreshed. The first thing that came into view was the elegant and clean courtyard. Several sets of tables, chairs, and pavilions were covered by white gauze curtains. There were many private rooms on the left and right side of the courtyard. All of them were decorated in a combination of Chinese and Western style, elegant and romantic. Lu Chun and the others entered one of the private rooms. The temperature inside was just right. The bowls, chopsticks, fruit plates, and cold plates on the table were also arranged, waiting for them to sit down. The fatty went to prepare the wine and dishes. This kind of private restaurant doesn't order dishes. It only counts the number of people. Everyone will eat what the chef cooks. The taste and standard are absolutely first class, and it is guaranteed that the guests will not be disappointed. If the guests are disappointed, the restaurant naturally can't continue. Although it was Tang Xinniao's treat tonight, Lu Chun was in charge. In addition to inviting Tan Ling, the reporter from People's Music, he also invited Tan Hong and his family. Tan Hong was still on the way, but there were already 6 people here. Tang Xinniao also invited Lu Shi. After a few hours of interviews in the afternoon, Tan Ling seemed to want to talk more. She continued to chat with Lu Chun. Of course, the topic was not as formal as before, but it did not deviate from the original topic. In fact, the topic of pop music and traditional music was enough to write a thick book. From the beginning to the present, it may not be finished even after a few days of chatting. Chen Fei found it interesting and joined in the conversation. Lu Shi told Min Li about Tang Xinyao's nationwide publicity tour. The atmosphere in the private room was very warm. Not long after, Tan Hong came with his wife and little daughter. Sister Fei Tan Hong got married very early. His wife Song Wan Lu was also his first girlfriend. The two helped each other in difficult times for more than 20 years. Their deep relationship could be said to be a role model in the circle. They had a son and a daughter together. Tan Hong's son was currently studying abroad. His little daughter Tan Jiawan was just 7 years old. She was innocent and lively. When she saw Chen Fei, she immediately rushed up and said, "I missed you so much." "I missed you too." Chen Fei smiled and picked her up and kissed her on her blushing face. Chen Fei and Tan Hong had known each other for many years. He was very familiar with his family and liked this little girl the most. Brother Tan's sister-in-law, Lu Chan, complained to Tan Hong, "It's not easy to invite you. It's all thanks to reporter Tan." Originally, Tan Hong said that he wouldn't come, so it was Tan Ling who settled it. Song Wan Lu smiled and said, "He has become an old man who doesn't want to go anywhere." Tan Hong was born in the 1970s. He wasn't very old, but he retired and really stayed away from the entertainment circle. Tan Jiawan shouted, "Yes, Mom said that Dad is the laziest." Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Lu Chan reached out to Tan Jiawan and said, "Little one, long time no see. Let Uncle hug you." He knew Tan Hong's family, but he didn't see them much, but he also liked Tan Jiawan very much. "No." Tan Jiawan immediately turned her head and said, "Mom said that girls can't be hugged by boys." The laughter became louder. Lu Chan smiled bitterly and touched his nose, saying, "Your mother is right." He introduced to Tan Hong, "This is Tang Xinyao from my company. She is treating us tonight." Tan Hong nodded and said, "Hello." Tang Xinyao stuttered a little. Teacher Tan, nice to meet you." She knew that Tan Hong was coming, but she was really excited when she saw him in person. She couldn't help but bow. Tan Hong smiled and said, "You don't have to be so polite. Let's sit down and talk." So everyone sat down again, including the 9 members of Tan Hong's family. It was really a happy gathering. Chapter 760. The orange light shone through the thin white lampshade and evenly illuminated the entire private room. The high table in the corner smelled of sandalwood, creating a unique atmosphere. The host family served plates of meticulously prepared dishes. Spicy shrimp skin salad, tricolored steamed eggs, golden hook cucumber strips, shredded chicken and silver sprouts. They were all ordinary home-cooked dishes, but they all looked, smelled and tasted great. Although Lu Chun wasn't a true foodie, he had a great appetite in front of delicious food. He was in high spirits and shared a pot of the host family's homemade rice wine with Tan Hong. He felt slightly tipsy and satisfied. Chen Fei had been on a diet recently. He clearly had a very standard body size, but he still wanted to lose a few more kilograms. He wanted to eat but didn't dare to eat too much. He looked very conflicted. Tang Xinyao was a true foodie. She enthusiastically asked the teachers not to be polite and to eat until she was full. She also set an example, waving her chopsticks and eating heartily. Min Li couldn't stop her. Sitting next to her was a little foodie. There were 9 osmanthus brown sugar glutinous rice rolls on a plate, and the little girl ate 4 of them. After being scolded by Song Wan Lu, she put on a, "If you don't let me eat, I'll cry for you to see" attitude, which made people smile. Tan Hong drank a few cups of rice wine but didn't eat much. He had retired to his home and paid great attention to his health. He wouldn't have drunk wine if Lu Chun hadn't invited him today. What was interesting was that Tan Ling and Lu Shi had a good chat. Although it was the first time they had met, they felt like old friends. They drank a cup of wine, their faces flushed, and chatted intimately as if they were sisters. This kind of atmosphere was undoubtedly excellent and could really relax people. Lu Chun thought that this private restaurant was very good. In the future, he could have everyone come here often as a good pastime. As he was thinking, Tan Jiawan, who had eaten and drunk to her heart's content, ran over. She pulled his arm and said, "Big brother Lu Chun, can I ask you for help with something?" The little girl blinked her big eyes, revealing a lovely and pitiful expression, making it hard for anyone to refuse. Lu Chun, however, had a heart of stone. He took out his phone and said, "Then you have to give me a red envelope first. I don't want 1 or 2, and I don't think 1 or 200 is too much. Then we can talk about helping." Tan Jawan's little face immediately collapsed. She threw herself into Chun Feier's arms and cried, "Sister Feier, big brother Lu Chun is bullying me. Please help me." Song Wanlu glared at her daughter. "Stop messing around. Is your butt itching again?" Chun Feier did not budge. "Big sister will help you." She glared at Lu Chun. Lu Chun could only surrender. Okay. Tell me what you want first." Tan Hong's daughter was very eccentric. Every time they met, she would ask for something, and she also liked to play pranks. She was spoiled by her father to the point of being out of control. Well, there was another big sister who was even more spoiled. The little girl immediately smiled and turned around to hug Lu Chen's arm. "My school arranged a solo performance for me at the New Year's Gala. I don't want to sing songs that have been sung by others, so I asked Dad to write me a song." Lu Chen nodded. "That's great. Is there a problem?" "There's a big problem." The little girl frowned and complained. "Do you know what song he wrote for me?" She directly sang, "The little white duck swims across the river, squawking and squawking." After only 2 lines, Tan Jawan's bitter face turned into a look of disdain. "Big brother Lu Chun, listen to this. How do you think my classmates will look at me if I sing such a childish song on stage?" Lu Chun? The little girl continued to complain. "Come on, I'm already a second-year student, not a kid in kindergarten. Dad actually wrote me such a song. It's so embarrassing." Lu Chun? The people next to them all laughed. Only Tan Hong had a helpless and embarrassed expression. The little girl sighed and continued to complain. "It's really my misfortune to have such a father. Until now, I haven't even submitted the name of my program, so..." She shook Lu Chen's arm hard. "Big brother Lu Chun, why don't you write a song for me? I'll send you a red packet of 50 no 100 yuan. How about that?" It could be seen that the little girl had made up her mind. She, who had never given back anything, actually threw out a red packet of 100 yuan. Lu Chun was deeply moved. "Okay then." The little girl was so happy that she jumped 3 feet high and kissed Lu Chen's face. "Big brother Lu Chun is still the best." Lu Chun was completely bought. "I'll write it for you now." "That's great." The little girl clapped her hands and said, "I brought the guitar and laptop here. They're in the car outside." It turned out that she was prepared. Lu Chun was convinced. "Then bring them over." The little girl immediately ran to Tan Hong and ignored his dark face. "Dad, give me the car key." Tan Ling smiled and said, "Jawan, Aunt will accompany you to get it." Of course, the little girl had no objection. "Thank you, Aunt." After getting the car key from the helpless Tan Hong, Tan Ling led the little girl to get the guitar and laptop. Tan Hong smiled bitterly at Lu Chun. "My family is unfortunate. He had this daughter at the age of 40, so he spoiled her very much. Now he was reaping what he had sown. Just write a few sentences for her to fool her." Lu Chun smiled. "It's not easy to fool primary school students these days. Jawan is too smart. When he was in primary school, he fooled around with his classmates all day and teased female classmates. He was ignorant and didn't know anything. Now the millennials were born in the era of the surging tide of information. They began to be exposed to all kinds of information from a very young age, so they were often very precocious. For example, Tan Jawan was better at using computers and mobile phones than her father. She had set up a QQ group with her classmates and was proficient in all kinds of internet terms. She was not someone who could be fooled by a few candies. If Tan Hong wrote a duckling, she would really think it was too childish. Chun Feier said, "It's good to be smart. Then you won't be cheated by boys in the future." As she spoke, she glanced at Lu Chun, but her eyes were full of tenderness and sweetness. Song Wanlu sighed. "You dote on her more than old Tan. Every time I teach her a lesson, she says she wants to run away from home to find her sister. You might as well take her away." Chun Feier pursed her lips and smiled. "I want to, but big brother Tan won't bear to." Song Wanlu smiled. "If you want, then you and Lu Chun can have one too. Sister-in-law." Chen Feier's pretty face blushed. Song Wanlu said seriously, I'm serious. Women should have children as soon as possible. Giving birth to Jiawan was really difficult. My body has not fully recovered until now. Lu Shi raised her hand. I support you. Mom is looking forward to holding a grandson. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why did the topic suddenly shift to him and Chen Fei? But there were some things that he had to seriously consider. He looked at Chen Fei and Chen Fei happened to look over. Their eyes met. Their hearts were connected. Chapter 761. As the topic of children was brought up, the atmosphere in the private room became livelier. Other than teasing Lu Chen and Chen Fei, Song Wanlu also talked about her daughter. She knew a lot at such a young age. Being influenced by the modern information society made it difficult for her to educate her daughter. She said to Chen Fei, if you have children in the future, it's best if you have 2 in a row. That way they can play together and you don't have to work so hard to be a father or a mother. Song Wanlu and Tan Hong had a son and a daughter. Their son was already 20 years old. Of course, he couldn't stay at home to take care of his sister. The age difference was too big, and they didn't have anything in common. As they were chatting, Tan Ling came back with Tan Jiawan. Tan Ling was holding a laptop bag and a guitar case in each hand. Tan Jiawan skipped behind her and said eagerly, Big brother Lu Chen, it's up to you now. Lu Chen smiled. Okay, it's up to me now. He took the computer bag from Tan Ling and opened it to take out the laptop. It was already installed with composing software, so he immediately started to write music scores. Everyone's eyes fell on him. They saw Lu Chen's fingers flying as he typed on the keyboard. In less than 10 minutes he stopped. It's done. So fast? Tan Hong was very surprised. Even if it was an improvisation, this speed was too heaven-defying. However, he thought about it and realized that he was just trying to make his daughter happy. It wouldn't be appropriate to make it too serious. He felt relieved. Let me see. He had been brooding over the nursery rhyme he had worked so hard to compose for his daughter. Therefore, he couldn't help but be curious about what Lu Chen had taken out in 10 minutes. Lu Chen smiled and handed the laptop over. Tan Hong didn't stand on ceremony. He took it and was ready to pick at it to maintain his dignity. It was probably a bit of resentment from being a father. As a result, he was immediately sucked in and stared at the screen for more than 10 minutes. Song Wanlu and Tan Ling looked at each other. Tan Jiawan grew impatient and reached out to grab the laptop. Quick, let me see. This is what brother Lu Chen wrote for me. Her family had a long history of learning, and she had started learning music when she was 4 or 5 years old. Reading music scores was no problem for her. However, Tan Hong turned off his computer and shook his head. He asked Lu Chen, this song is from your portfolio, right? Many songwriters had their own library of works. When they had inspiration, they would write a few lines or a few paragraphs, half a song or an entire song. When it was necessary, they would rearrange and perfect it. Lu Chen can be said to be unparalleled in the circle in music creation, but no matter how talented he is, it is impossible for him to say that he wants to write a song for you, and then he can create a complete and excellent work in more than 10 minutes. It was normal to draw inspiration from the portfolio or ready-made works. What kind of person was Tan Hong? He was a real big shot in the pop music industry. There was no doubt about his taste in music. Of course, he could distinguish the quality of a song. The problem was that the song Lu Chen took out was not something to coax children. That would be too much. Lu Chen explained. I remember that Jiawan just had her birthday. This song is my birthday gift to her. Birthday gift? Tan Hong was speechless. Didn't Fair already give it to her? She can't take it anymore, and this is also. Before he finished speaking, Tan Jiawan's eyes were already red. She looked like she was about to cry. The song that she had gotten was going to be erased by her father. Chen Fei looked distressed and couldn't help but complain. Brother Tan, do we still have to care so much? Tan Ling also looked at her cousin in confusion. Lu Chen smiled and said to Tan Jiawan, Jiawan, give me the guitar. I'll teach you how to sing now. The little girl immediately turned from sadness to joy, and immediately gave her guitar to Lu Chen. Tan Hong's dissuasion was useless, so he said helplessly, Oh, you guys just spoil her. Song Wanlu pursed her lips and smiled. When it came to spoiling his daughter, no one could be more spoiled than him. How could he talk about others? Lu Chan let the little girl sit next to him and held the guitar in his arms, gently strumming the strings. Tan Jiawan's guitar is a small children's guitar, and it's a folk style. Although Lu Chan hasn't used it before, he is absolutely top-notch in guitar playing, so he got it in 2 or 3 moves. On the road of life, sweet and bitter, happy and sad, I'm willing to share them all with you. It's hard to avoid falling and waiting. Be brave and raise your head. Who wants to hide in a harbor sheltered from the wind? Rather have the freedom of the turbulent waves. May the lighthouse in your heart keep watch, let you see through the fog. The song Lu Chan gave Tan Jiawan was called The Sunshine Always After the Storm. This song was certainly not a children's song. The lyrics were undoubtedly too mature for a 2 or 3-year-old child. But this song was not a love song, folk song, or rock song. It was inspirational and contained the strength of a firm belief, as well as many beautiful things, but it had nothing to do with age. Lu Chan gave The Sunshine Always After the Storm to Tan Jiawan. In fact, it represented his encouragement and expectations for the little girl. Perhaps she could not truly understand the meaning of the lyrics now, but she would definitely understand in the future. Lu Chan wanted this song to accompany her as she grew up, so that she would not be afraid in the face of difficulties and setbacks in the future. The sunshine always after the storm. There is a clear sky above the dark clouds. Cherish all the touching. Every hope is in your hands. The sunshine always after the storm. Please believe there is a rainbow. Accept all the ups and downs. I will always be around you. In the private room, the sound of the guitar drifted along with Lu Chen's singing. Everyone listened attentively. Some were even moved. Tan Hong suddenly understood. At first he resisted because he knew very well that such a song written by Lu Chen would be sold for millions of yuan, and many people would fight for it. It was too expensive as a gift. Since Lu Chen became famous, many singers and stars had invited him to sing, but very few of them really got what they wanted, and those who got his works would not be disappointed. There were even rumors in the circle that a singer who was not short of money was willing to pay 5 million yuan to buy Lu Chen's new work. Tan Hong could definitely afford a few million yuan, but Lu Chen would not want it at all, and it was impossible to talk about money. But now that he heard Lu Chen sing it himself, he understood that this song was not only for Tan Jiawan, but also for himself. He wrote his deepest love for his daughter. This was Lu Chen's repayment for his help and support for Lu Chen. Then what reason did he have to refuse? No. Note: The Sunshine Always After the Storm lyricist/composer, Chan Jieming. Chapter 762. On December 22nd, it would be Christmas in 3 days, and the capital ushered in a heavy snow. According to the latest weather forecast, this was also the last snow of 2017. The snow was exceptionally heavy, and the snowflakes flying all over the sky covered the ancient capital with a layer of white coat, which was exceptionally enchanting. For Chunfei Media, a year of hard work has paid off at this season. First of all, You from the Star, produced by Chunfei Media in conjunction with Beijing Television, Zhidong Satellite TV and other units, was broadcast and achieved great success. Since its premiere in August, this sci-fi romantic romance drama has broken a series of ratings records in China and South Korea. The highest ratings in China exceeded 10%, and in South Korea, it broke through 50%, becoming a well-deserved phenomenal national drama. In the past 4 months, You from the Star has set off a wave of ratings and public opinion, and its influence has exceeded Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance. Especially on the internet, the number of fans of the drama is staggering. Apart from the 2 leading actors, Lu Chen and Chen Feier, the popularity of the main supporting roles in the drama has been rising all the way, from obscurity to household names, and they have attracted fans that many artists can't get in their lifetime. Beijing Television, Zhidong Satellite TV and KGS TV are also beneficiaries of this craze. They made a lot of money by relying on the episodes and advertisements, which made their peers' eyes bleed. As early as when You was first broadcast, TV stations seeking the rights to rebroadcast came one after another, while Zhidong Satellite TV and Beijing Television did not want to give away this fat meat, so they re-signed a contract with Chunfei Media. In addition, the extended re-edit online version of You was bought by QQ Video for 150 million yuan, which also set a new record for TV series webcast copyright transaction. After statistics, this year's TV series You Alone, including the advertising share of the 3 major TV stations, copyright sale and brand placement advertisements, can bring more than 500 million yuan to Chunfei Media. In addition, the novel version of You went on sale nationwide on the 19th and set a sales volume of 500,000 copies in 3 days. The film copyright of You is under negotiation and is being fought over by many major film companies. Therefore, in the new year, You will also create a steady stream of income for Chunfei Media. Relying on this popular TV series, Chunfei Media had already stood at the top of the film and television media circle, and the limelight was unparalleled. Apart from Xingyou, Lu Chun and Chen Feier had also had a good year. Both of them had earned more than 100 million yuan from their endorsements, and they had secured first and second place in the list of celebrity income in 2017. And the artists signed by Chunfei Media have also performed well. Nirvana has released their debut album, and Tong Xinjiao has released her debut album, and they have made gains in different markets. In particular, Tong Xinjiao became famous overnight with the help of Original Dream. The 3 songs in the album, which were tailored for her by Lu Chun, were all in the top 10 of the original music chart. Her domination of the chart was a foregone conclusion. It's also interesting to say that Lu Chun and Chen Feier's album swept the original music chart, forcing the original music chart to change its rules. The same album could only allow 3 songs to be on the chart at the same time. But even so, it couldn't stop Lu Chun's works from continuing to crush all his opponents. Therefore, such a situation can often be seen on the chart, that is, there is no Lu Chun in the top 10, and then clicking on the information of the songs on the chart, you can see the familiar name again. Fans call it the Lu Chun phenomenon, and there is no one who doesn't admire it. When it was snowing in Beijing, Tong Xinjiao was promoting in Hangzhou, so she didn't catch up with the company's red envelopes. After the broadcast of You, it happened to be Christmas. In addition, everyone has really worked hard this year. So Lu Xi discussed with Lu Chun and decided to distribute a Christmas red envelope to all employees, and then send a Spring Festival red envelope during the new year. Not only did they send red envelopes, the company also decided to have a holiday from the 23rd. After New Year's Day, they gave a total of 9 days of holiday, so that the employees who have been busy for a year could have a comfortable Christmas plus New Year holiday. It was snowing heavily and freezing outside, but the atmosphere in the conference room of Chunfei Media's headquarters was hot and enthusiastic. More than 100 employees crowded the conference room, and everyone had a happy smile on their faces. On the long table in front of them, there were stacks of stuffed red envelopes, which reflected golden and red light under the illumination of the indoor lights. Both Lu Chun and Chen Feier came to the scene in person, and together with Lu Xi, they personally distributed these red envelopes to the hands of each employee. In addition to the generous red envelopes, there was also a live lottery event. A large box was placed in the corner of the conference room, which contained more than 100 special small golden eggs. Everyone lined up to touch the golden eggs, one for each person, and everyone got a prize. The prizes included shopping vouchers, mobile phones, tablets, laptops, SLR cameras, and so on, all piled up next to the box. Among them, the first prize was a double trip to Europe plus 50,000 travel bonus. As the golden eggs were opened one after another, there were cries of surprise one after another. Soon, some employees happily took photos of their bonuses and prizes and posted them on their blogs. Of course, photos of the boss and lady boss were indispensable. The official V of Chunfei Media did not publicize the company's internal event, but it could not stop the employees from proudly exposing themselves, so it soon caused a wave of envious comments and ridicule on the Waves blog. Someone else's company. The best boss and lady boss in China. What the heck? It's not even the new year yet, and they're already giving out red envelopes. 9 days off. Oh my god, I'm so envious. I just want to ask, is your company still hiring? I'm proficient in the installation and uninstallation of Word, Excel, Access, PowerPoint, Outlook Express, and other software. I'm proficient in the spelling of VB, C++, FoxPro, SQL, Java, and other words. I'm familiar with the operating systems of Win 7, Windows Phone, Linux, Mac, Android, iOS, BlackBerry, and other operating systems. Previous post is too awesome. I've decided to jump ship now. This is so lucky. There are red envelopes during the holidays, and there are so many prizes. Most importantly, I can see Chen every day. Let me die. I'm speechless. As a result, many people in the industry and many companies express great pressure. Needless to say, the impact of the demonstration was really great. On the same day, many people called Chunfei Media to ask if Chunfei Media was hiring new employees. On the second day of the company's holiday after the red envelopes were distributed, Lu Chan and Chunfei flew to South Korea. The two would spend this Christmas in Seoul. Chapter 763. Seoul International Airport, Terminal Hall. Jin Xiaomei and her two classmates squeezed into the crowd and stared nervously at the number 2 international arrival lane. Around her were many reporters with cameras, as well as the TV station's interview crew. However, most of them were like her, fans who spontaneously came to the airport to pick up their idols after receiving the news. Jin Xiaomei's idol was Lu Chan, the male lead of Autumn in My Heart, Full House of Romance, and You from the Star. He was a superstar from China. She found out about Lu Chan flying to Seoul from FLOO. She did not know which insider was so resourceful as to expose the news on FLOO that Lu Chan and Chunfei were coming to Korea to participate in the production of KBS TV station, as well as the flight information. FLOO was Korea's largest online social media platform, and Lu Chan was the most popular Chinese star on FLOO. He had won countless fans by relying on 3 urban romance dramas. As a female student at Seoul National University, Jin Xiaomei could be said to be Lu Chen's most loyal fan. Not only had she watched all of Lu Chen's films and TV series, but she also owned 2 commemorative editions of Lu Chen's albums. Among her classmates, there are also many people who are fascinated by Lu Chan. So today, she easily contacted 2 good friends and came to Seoul International Airport to welcome their idol to South Korea. Tian, however, when they arrived at the airport, Jin Xiaomei realized that they were a little late. The good seats had already been taken by the reporters and other fans. Therefore, she could only stand on tiptoe at the back of the crowd and wait anxiously. All she wanted was to see Lu Chan with her own eyes. As for autographs and photos, she temporarily forgot about them. At that moment, after a 2-hour flight, the China Airlines CT-158 landed steadily at Seoul International Airport. After passing through customs, Lu Chan, Chunfei, and their assistant had just come out of the passenger passage when they were surrounded by countless reporters and enthusiastic fans. Lu Chan Appa! The screams of the girls were deafening, accompanied by flashes of light. Although he had been through all kinds of situations, the scene in front of him still gave Lu Chan a fright. He didn't expect that he would be so popular in Korea. There were so many reporters and fans coming to the airport to welcome him. Although Chunfei Media attached great importance to the Korean market, and the Korean version of Star was broadcast at the same time as the domestic version, the company, which had just started, mainly focused on the domestic market. The Korean market basically depended on the cooperation with KGS and SPG. This time, Chunfei Media did not do any publicity for their trip to Korea at the invitation of KBS, nor did they inform KGS and SPG. It could be said that they were very low-key. The result was truly shocking. Fortunately, there were security personnel at the airport to maintain order, so even though the scene was a little scary, it did not cause any chaos. Lu Chan saw a support board with his Chinese or Korean name written on it in the crowd, as well as his posters. Interestingly, most of the fans who came to pick him up were girls, so most of them were his fans. However, seeing such a scene, Chunfei hesitated for a moment and wanted to let go of Lu Chen's hand. She knew that fans were very sensitive and fragile. Although everyone knew that the two were a couple, these Korean teenage fans might not be able to accept seeing their idols showing off their love in front of their eyes. Therefore, it was better not to stimulate him if possible, lest any accidents happen. However, Lu Chan held her hand tightly, and at the same time smiled and waved at the enthusiastic fans. As it turned out, Chunfei was obviously thinking too much. With the brainwashing of the 3 TV series, Autumn in My Blood, Full House of Romance, and You from the Star, the two had long become the most perfect idol couple in the hearts of Korean fans. Although these girls liked Lu Chan to the extent that they were obsessed with him, they were not unable to accept the relationship between the two. As for the dog food, it had long been fed by the 3 TV series, especially You from the Star, which had just finished airing, and its influence in Korea was unprecedented. Lovers on screen, lovers in reality, Lu Chun and Chen Fei were already an inseparable combination in the hearts of fans in China and Korea. The screams of the fans became even louder, and there was a commotion in the crowded crowd. The airport security personnel were busy as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Lu Chun Appa. Jin Xiaomei was very lucky to squeeze to the front. Looking at Lu Chun, who was only a few steps away, her heart was about to jump out of her chest. She desperately stretched out her hand and shouted in Chinese, "Can you give me an autograph?" Jin Xiaomei majored in Chinese at National University, and her Chinese was quite good. She immediately stood out from the crowd of fans around her. Lu Chun happened to pass by and heard her words, so he stopped. He took the autograph pen and CD case from Jin Xiaomei's outstretched arm, and found that the latter was actually a limited edition collection of You Who Sat Next to Me released in China. He couldn't help but smile and asked, "Hello, what's your name?" "Jin Xiaomei." Jin Xiaomei never dreamed that Lu Chun would really stop for her. Her face suddenly turned red, and she stuttered in Chinese, "My name is Jin Xiaomei, Xiao as in delicate, Mei as in beautiful." Lu Chun smiled and said, "Your Chinese is really good. Where did you buy this record?" As he asked, he quickly wrote a blessing on the CD case. Jin Xiaomei swallowed and said, "I asked my classmate in China to help me order it." After Lu Chun signed his name, he returned the CD case and the autograph pen to the other party. "Thank you for your support." As soon as Jin Xiaomei took it, she was immediately pushed to the back by the people around her. In a panic, she didn't know who stepped on her foot, but she suddenly woke up and hurriedly continued to step back. If she didn't step back, it would be terrible if she was pushed to the ground. Xiaomei. As a result, before she could stand firm, two students who had just been separated by the crowd surrounded her and stared at the autograph CD in her hand. "You got Lu Chun Appa's autograph?" Jin Xiaomei nodded. Suddenly, she had a strong vigilance in her heart. She immediately held the CD case tightly in her arms and said, "This is mine. Don't have any bad ideas." If anyone wanted to snatch it from her, she would fall out with that person. On this side, Lu Chun signed for several fans. Seeing that the situation was getting out of control, he was escorted by several security personnel and hurriedly left the terminal with Chun Fei and his assistant. Out of the hall, the group quickly boarded the car that had been waiting outside and left the reporters. Chapter 764. The people who came to the airport to welcome Lu Chun and Chun Fei were not only the staff sent by KBS. Lu Changxian and his girlfriend Song Jiazhen also drove them to the hotel where they were staying. The hotel was also arranged by Lu Changxian. It was the Shilla Hotel in the city center. The Shilla Hotel was the top hotel in South Korea. It was located in the central area of the capital city. It was a 5-star hotel belonging to the Samsung Group. As a hotel brand representing South Korea, it had hosted leaders from all over the world, as well as celebrities and stars in politics, diplomacy, economy, culture, sports, and entertainment. Staying at the Shilla Hotel was undoubtedly a symbol of status. According to the plan, Lu Chun and Chun Fei would participate in the KBS program, recording on December 29th. Today was the 24th, and there were still 5 days left. They were actually on vacation. There were many Catholics and Christians in South Korea. As the first major festival of the two major religions, the capital, Seoul, was particularly lively at Christmas time. The government also listed Christmas as a legal holiday. In recent years, the South Korean government had vigorously developed tourism and included Christmas in the scope of publicity. On Christmas Day, there were a series of promotional activities in shopping areas such as Myeongdong and Gangnam, which attracted a large number of tourists to sightsee and shop. After the broadcast of View from the Star, Chunfei Media gave all employees a holiday, so Lu Chun took advantage of this opportunity to take Chun Fei to South Korea for a holiday shopping. Attending Song Jiazhen's program was actually incidental. When they settled down at the hotel, Lu Changxian warmly invited the two to dinner. Lu Chun declined and said, "Mr. Lu is too polite. Today is Christmas Eve, so you should spend it with your girlfriend. We'll eat another day. Anyway, there is still a lot of time." Lu Changxian didn't force it. He smiled and said, "Well, let's get together another day. You two have a good time. Please call me if you need anything." Although he left with Song Jiajin, he left his car behind and arranged for a driver to make it convenient for the two of them to travel. This Lu Changxian is really good, Chan Feier praised. If he develops in the entertainment industry, he will definitely become a top star. Character determined fate. Lu Changxian's personal qualities were very high. His appearance was handsome and generous. He was magnanimous but not meticulous. If he really mingled in the circle, it would be easy for him to get a large number of fans. However, he was born into a wealthy family, so it was impossible for him to be interested in this industry. Although the Korean entertainment industry was extremely developed, the status of celebrities was actually quite low. Therefore, Chan Feier was just joking. Lu Chun hugged her and said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll be jealous if you praise him like that?" Chan Feier glanced at him coquettishly and giggled. "I like it when you're jealous." Before she could finish her sentence, Lu Chun picked her up by the waist and strode to the bathroom. After taking a fragrant bath, they returned to the big bed in the bedroom. Chan Feier leaned lazily in Lu Chun's arms, enjoying the aftertaste of passion. After a few minutes, she suddenly sat up, completely ignoring her exposed body. Lu Chun was surprised. "What's wrong?" Chan Feier put on her underwear and said, "Of course we're going out. We're going shopping." Lu Chun was speechless. "Aren't you tired?" "I'm not tired." When it came to shopping, Chan Feier's enthusiasm was not much different from that of other women. Her answer was very simple. Of course, her reason was very strong. "I haven't had a good time shopping for half a year. I've made so much money. It would be a shame if I don't spend some." How could Lu Chun have any objections? So they called their assistant, called the driver to arrange a car, and went shopping in Myeongdong. Myeongdong was the most famous shopping area in Seoul. The most concentrated category of consumption was Korean local brands of cosmetics. The grade was mainly above the middle level. Skin Food, Misha, Olive Young, and so on had opened flagship stores here, attracting a large number of tourists. In particular, domestic tourist groups who came to Seoul had to come to Myeongdong. Therefore, slightly larger stores were equipped with shopping guides in Chinese, which was very convenient. In fact, compared to Myeongdong, the grade in Gangnam was higher, featuring international brands. Of course, Chan Feier was not short of money. She usually didn't use Korean brands of cosmetics, but she liked the shopping atmosphere in Myeongdong very much. Today was Christmas Eve, and it happened to be Sunday, so Myeongdong was particularly lively. All the shops along the street had advertised discounts and tried their best to attract customers. Although they were in Korea, the two also disguised themselves, wearing sunglasses and masks to avoid attracting onlookers. Relying on the three popular TV series on KGS TV station, Lu Chun and Chan Feier can be said to be the most popular domestic stars in South Korea. The number of fans even overshadowed many of South Korea's local A-list artists. If the two didn't disguise themselves, they would probably be surrounded in a few steps. This time, Chan Feier was satisfied with her shopping addiction. She spent the entire afternoon and evening shopping. Anyway, it was just buying. If she saw something she liked, she would buy it. If she didn't use it herself, she would give it to others. Fortunately, Lu Chun had brought his two assistants along. In addition, there was a chauffeur and a car. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't even be able to carry the shopping bags. Even so, they almost broke their legs following Chan Feier. It wasn't until nighttime that the two returned to the hotel with shopping bags of all sizes. The next day, they went to watch the Christmas parade on the streets of Seoul. They didn't have enough fun until the 27th. On the morning of the 28th, Lu Chun and Chan Feier attended an international brand endorsement event together. On the morning of the 29th, the two accepted an interview with KBS TV. In the afternoon, they participated in the recording of KBS's new star show. After the recording, the two had dinner with Lu Changxian and Song Jiajin. According to the original plan, the two would stay in Seoul for another day to meet with the higher-ups of KGS TV and SYG before returning to Beijing on the 31st. However, unexpectedly, on the night of the 29th, which was the day Lu Chun finished recording the new star show, Lee Ji-chung, a Korean taekwondo master with a 9-dan black belt and 2 Olympic gold medals, sent him a challenge on his FLO account, which had more than 10 million fans. Lee Ji-chung was a household name in Korea. After winning his first Olympic gold medal, he was regarded as a hero by many Koreans. He was extremely popular in Korea. Therefore, when his challenge was posted, it immediately caused a huge sensation. It quickly became the hottest topic on the internet and attracted the attention of the Korean media. Chapter 765. Taekwondo originated from the Korean peninsula. It evolved from Taekwondo and Warangdo during the Three Kingdoms period. It was a popular martial art in Korea. Before the last century, there was no Taekwondo in Korea. Korean martial arts were mainly karate, tanghand, and a small number of folk Taekwondo. During the Japanese occupation, a large number of young Korean students went to Japan to study and receive systematic karate training from the Matsuro dojo. After returning home, they began to establish dojos to teach students. After the defeat of Japan, Korea gained national independence, and a large number of karate and tang art dojos emerged. In the early days, Korean karate practitioners combined the traditional national martial arts of Taekwondo with karate, calling it tang art. The earliest Korean dojos appeared, and they were later known as the Nine Paths dojos. The name Taekwondo was created in 1955 by General Choi Hongshi of Korea. He studied karate in Japan and played a vital role in the establishment, inheritance, and development of Taekwondo. Li Zhiqing was one of Choi Hongshi's proudest disciples. Li Zhiqing began learning Taekwondo at the age of 5. He won the national championship at the age of 17. At the age of 21, he participated in the Olympic Games and won the gold medal in the 68 kilograms category. 4 years later, he successfully defended his title. His contribution to Taekwondo was not only the 2 Olympic gold medals, but also the creation of a new school outside of the Nine Paths dojos. The dojos he established were not inferior to the Nine Paths dojos in terms of strength and influence. They were even more famous among young Koreans. Li Zhiqing not only inherited Taekwondo, but also had his own unique innovation. The school he created absorbed the essence of martial arts such as kickboxing, grappling, sanda, and so on. It was more inclined to actual combat. One day 5 years ago, when Li Zhiqing came out of the dojo, he happened to encounter 3 robbers who were robbing passers-by with knives. He rushed forward with his bare hands and knocked down all the tall and strong robbers in just 10 seconds. The scene was captured by the cameras in the nearby shops and then uploaded to the internet, causing a great sensation. Later, the Korean president received Li Zhiqing and awarded him a medal. Because of this, Li Zhiqing was regarded as a hero by many Koreans. "It's my fault, Mr. Liu." In the business suite of the Shilla Hotel, Yu Chongxian apologized to Liu Chan. "I'm really sorry," Liu Chan said with a smile. "How can you be blamed for this? It's not a big deal." Last night, Li Zhiqing had issued a challenge on FLO. This morning, Liu Chongxian had brought Song Jiazhen to the hotel to apologize in person. Without his insistence, Liu Chan would not have to face this problem. It was indeed troublesome. Although Li Zhiqing's letter of challenge on FLO was carefully worded, it couldn't hide the aggressiveness. Coupled with his special identity, it could be said to have forced Liu Chan into a corner to a large extent. This was not the first time Liu Chan had been challenged. After the UD-725 flight incident, as well as the video of Liu Chan demonstrating the motion capture system at Blue Sky Studio, Chinese Kung Fu became famous all over the world, and Jack Ross, who has won the AFS middleweight gold belt 3 times in a row, challenged him. It was just that Jack Ross's attitude at the time was not very serious, and Liu Chan directly expressed that he was not interested. Therefore, other than a small number of media making a fuss, the so-called challenge was left unresolved. In addition to Jack Ross, there were also many experts in kickboxing and sanda in China who wanted to spar with Liu Chan. Some were purely hyping up, so Liu Chan could not be bothered to respond. But now Li Zhiqing's challenge was extraordinary. First of all, as the challenger, his identity was very special. He was a representative figure of Korean Taekwondo. His words carried a lot of weight and were not a joke. In this challenge letter, Li Zhiqing proposed that Liu Chan could decide the time and location of the duel, whether it was in Korea or China. He wanted to use this duel to prove that the Neo-Taekwondo he created was superior to China Kung Fu. Now that the news had already spread and caused a sensation on the Korean internet, more media would definitely pay attention to it. It was believed that it would soon spread back to China. Under such circumstances, if Liu Chan rejected Li Zhiqing's challenge, the consequences could be imagined. Not to mention anything else, there would definitely be many fans who would be disappointed, and there would definitely be people who would jump out to ridicule and say strange things. Some media would definitely take the opportunity to stir up trouble. At the moment, Lu Chun was really too popular. God knew how many people were jealous. Now that he was in Korea, it could be said that Li Zhiqing had chosen an excellent time. Lu Changxian happened to know some inside information. Actually, it's not that simple. Li Zhiqing's purpose of challenging Lu Chun was not simple. After he established the martial arts dojo, he tried his best to promote the martial arts dojo style, with the intention of establishing a new Taekwondo alliance, and even challenging the ITF, which was established by his mentor, which was the International Taekwondo Alliance. However, the influence of the International Taekwondo Alliance was too great. There were more than 120 countries and regional associations around the world. It was not something that Li Zhiqing could easily shake. Therefore, the purpose of his challenge to Lu Chun was clear. So that's how it is. Lu Chun nodded. He thought for a while and said, "Thank you, Mr. Lu, for the information. I will handle this matter well." Lu Changxian smiled bitterly. Actually, I know Mr. Li Zhiqing and I also admire his character. If possible, I hope that Mr. Lu Chun and Mr. Li Zhiqing can become friends and not opponents. Lu Chun smiled faintly and did not say anything else. After sending Lu Changxian and Song Jiajin off, Chun Fei asked worriedly, "What are you going to do?" She also realized the trouble that this incident had brought to Lu Chun. Lu Chun smiled. "Don't worry about it first. Let's finish our own matters first." Today, he and Chun Fei still had to meet with the higher-ups of KGS TV station and SY. That was the arranged work. Chun Fei asked again, "Then are we going back to Beijing tomorrow?" The return flight was booked for tomorrow afternoon. Lu Chun thought for a while and said, "Let's talk about it at night." No matter what was going on outside, he would not panic. He would still do what he had to do. On the 30th, Lu Chun and Chun Fei visited the headquarters of KGS TV station and SYG according to their scheduled itinerary. They met and discussed with the higher-ups of both companies, mainly about the future business expansion of Chun Fei Media in Korea. Because both parties had a very good cooperation, KGS TV station and SYG received the two very warmly. The reception was also of the highest standard. They even had a banquet together at the Shilla Hotel in the evening. At the same time, the incident of Li Zhiqing challenging Lu Chun further intensified, causing a huge reaction on the domestic internet. It could be said that it was a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Chapter 766. The first to break the news was a small blogger on Waves, Hanwen Hanshi. Hanwen Hanshi had more than 200,000 fans. The main content of his blog included Korean travel, shopping, food, and study guides. At the same time, he also reposted a large number of interesting anecdotes from FLOO. In just 10 minutes after Li Zhiqing issued a challenge to Lu Chun on FLOO, Hanwen Hanshi reposted the news on Waves. However, Hanwen Hanshi did not have many fans. Coupled with the large number of reposts he posted, it did not attract much attention from netizens at first. There were very few reposts and comments. Moreover, the comments were mainly puzzled and curious. Really? Who is Li Zhiqing? I've never heard of him. He's deliberately trying to gain popularity, right? I don't think Lu Chun will pay attention to him. What a joke. Faced with doubts and inquiries, Hanwen Hanshi quickly posted a screenshot of FLO on his blog. At the same time, he introduced Li Zhiqing's identity and background in detail. Although Li Zhiqing was regarded as a hero by many Koreans, he was not very famous in China. Those who knew him were basically Taekwondo enthusiasts. After Hanwen Hanshi's blog, many netizens realized that Li Zhiqing's identity was not ordinary. Moreover, his challenge was serious and definitely not a joke. At this time, Li Zhiqing's challenge had already spread on Korean online media. Some media reporters even called Li Zhiqing himself and received confirmation from him. Hanwen Hanshi knew that this was a hot topic that could not be missed. Moreover, he was the one who first discovered it. Therefore, he spared no effort in promoting it. He continuously reposted relevant news and news reports to his Waves blog. Soon, it attracted the attention of more and more netizens, especially Lu Chun's fans. On the morning of the 30th, the official account of Lu Chun's fan club reposted Hanwen Hanshi's blog post. This time, tens of thousands of Lu Chun's fans went crazy. Challenge my Chun? Has he gone crazy from wanting to be famous? Don't say that. Li Zhiqing is pretty good. He won 2 Olympic gold medals. Tisk. Can he be better than my Chungu? He'll be looking for his teeth on the floor. Don't be too sure. I've learned Taekwondo. My coach admires Li Zhiqing. I just searched. Li Zhiqing is a practical fighter in Taekwondo. Do you think Lu Chan will accept the challenge? I don't think so. Of course, fans unconditionally support Lu Chan. Many people think that Li Zhiqing is obviously trying to gain popularity and suggest that Lu Chan doesn't need to pay attention to him. But some people think that Lu Chan should accept the challenge because it's related to the honor of Chinese Kung Fu. The term Chinese Kung Fu was coined by Lu Chan, and it was also spread all over the world because of him. In the eyes of the Chinese people, Chinese Kung Fu was undoubtedly Chinese martial arts. Taekwondo can be said to be the national martial art of Korea. As the representative of Korean Taekwondo, Li Zhiqing issued a formal challenge to Lu Chan. If Lu Chan did not accept the challenge, it would undoubtedly cause great harm to his reputation. After the UD-725 flight incident, in the eyes of many people, Lu Chan was no longer just a star in the entertainment industry, but an outstanding representative of Chinese. Such a high evaluation has even been officially recognized. It was precisely because of this that Li Zhiqing's challenge was very different from Jack Ross. However, there were also many fans who thought that Lu Chan didn't need to rely on competing with Li Zhiqing to prove himself. The two had different foundations in different professions. This kind of competition was unfair. Whether they should accept it or not, Lu Chan's fans debated endlessly on the internet, and then soon a number of online media got involved and quickly heated up the topic. QQ. Li Zhiqing challenged Lu Chan. Who is the strongest martial artist? Waves. Li Zhiqing, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist, challenged Lu Chan on FLO last night. Baisua, Taekwondo versus Kung Fu. Who won and who lost? EasyNet. Korea's Taekwondo #1 issued a challenge to Lu Chan. Lu Chan didn't respond for the time being. These bold and black titles not only appeared in the entertainment section, but were even hung on the homepage of the website. With these big sects adding fuel to the fire, more and more people joined the debate. There was always no shortage of people who wanted to see the world in chaos on the internet, and there were also many people with ulterior motives. Whether it was intentional or not, the view that Lu Chan should accept the challenge gradually prevailed. The reasons were naturally very righteous. Some said that Lu Chan couldn't lose the face of his countrymen. Some said that Lu Chan could easily crush Li Zhiqing and didn't need to be afraid. Some said that if Lu Chan refused, then he didn't deserve his reputation. In short, anyone with a discerning eye could sense that there was a force stirring up trouble behind the scenes, stirring up the emotions of the netizens, holding Lu Chan up high, so that Lu Chan had no room to maneuver or retreat. Their goal was very simple. They wanted Lu Chan to fight Li Zhiqing. If he won, it would be because Lu Chan had real ability. They had foresight. If Lu Chan lost, then there would be a good show to watch. The matter fermented very quickly. Although traditional media such as television and newspapers did not intervene, the public opinion formed on the internet could not be underestimated. Lu Shi called Lu Chan many times from Beijing. However, when Lu Chan really discussed this matter with his sister, it was only after he had finished the dinner with the senior executives of KGS and SYG and returned to his room. What do you plan to do? His sister was in a bad mood. Of course, she didn't blame Lu Chan for causing trouble. Instead, she was angry at some people for stirring up trouble, and using this as an excuse to force Lu Chan to abdicate. Lu Chan already knew the repercussions of this matter in the country. He wasn't angry. Instead, he smiled and said, "If that's the case, then I'll do as they wish. I'll accept Li Zhiqing's challenge." Lu Chan said it casually, as if he had agreed to eat with someone or go shopping. Lu Shi was shocked when she heard this. "You really plan to fight Li Zhiqing? This is not a joke." His sister, of course, did not approve of Lu Chen's duel with Li Zhiqing. As the saying went, fists and feet had no eyes in an arena fight. If he were to get hurt, regardless of whether he won or lost, he would suffer a great loss. Moreover, Lu Chan was a celebrity, not a professional player. Rejecting Li Zhiqing was completely fair and square. As for what others said, let them say it. Lu Chan did not rely on their words to live. Don't be impulsive. Think carefully. Has Fei agreed? Lu Chan said. Sister, I'm not impulsive. I've thought it through very clearly. Fei has also agreed. Today's entire day was enough for Lu Chan to make a decision after careful consideration. That was to accept the challenge. Chapter 767. Accept the challenge. Although Lu Chan had countless reasons to reject Li Zhiqing's challenge, as many fans said, he didn't need a fight to prove himself. However, he had his own ideas. After You from the Star was broadcasted, Lu Chen's urban trilogy has been completed, so in the foreseeable future, he will not make any more dramas of the same type, and will fully turn to creating martial arts big IP. After You from the Star, it was time for The Smiling the Proud Wanderer. The Smiling Proud Wanderer would first shoot a blockbuster movie, and it would shoot 3 movies at once. After that, it would shoot a TV series. After that, The Legend of the Condor Heroes, The Return of the Condor Heroes, The Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, etc. Lu Chen's ambition wasn't limited to making Wuxia movies and TV series. He also wanted to promote his Wuxia culture to the world through the development of games, comics, and other copyrights. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. His plan was huge. Filming The Smiling the Proud Wanderer was the first and most important step. Therefore, he couldn't afford to fail. Lu Chan already had a plan for Chunfei Media to promote the movie. If he wanted to hype it up, then Li Zhiqing's challenge was undoubtedly a great hype point. Li Zhiqing challenged Lu Chan to promote his taekwondo. Conversely, Lu Chan could also use this duel to make Chinese kung fu popular and promote The Smiling, the Proud Wanderer. Li Zhiqing wanted to use Lu Chan as a stepping stone. Lu Chan could also use him as a stepping stone. Of course, the premise was that Lu Chan won. Otherwise, it would become a joke. On this point, Lu Chan had absolute confidence. Ever since he experienced that strange dream, he persisted in practicing kung fu for the past 3 years. His body was getting stronger and his reflexes were constantly improving. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to defeat the armed former U.S. Marines on Flight UD-725. Therefore, as long as Li Zhiqing was still human, he wasn't afraid of his opponent's challenge. Once he made a decision, Lu Chen's will was very firm. Although Lu Shi tried to persuade him, she could not overcome Lu Chen's persistence in the end. At 8:15 p.m. on the 30th, Lu Chen updated his blog post on his personal Waves blog, stating that he had accepted Li Zhiqing's challenge. The time was to be determined, and the location was to be chosen at the Wuqing Dojo in Seoul. The Wuqing Dojo in Seoul was located in the prosperous Gangnam district. It was the core of the Wuqing School of Taekwondo. Lu Chen's choice to accept Li Zhiqing's challenge in the Wuqing Dojo was no less significant than challenging the dojo. This also showed Lu Chen's strong confidence. In addition to posting the news on the Waves blog, the same content was also posted on FLOO. Since Lu Chen had been expanding into the Korean market for a long time, he had a verified account on FLOO and had more fans than Li Zhiqing. Therefore, when this blog post was published, it immediately caused a sensation on the largest online communities in China and Korea. The domestic fans naturally applauded. My Chun is mighty. Defeat the Korean Lu Chen, I support you. Defeat Li Zhiqing, my Chun will definitely win. Ha ha ha, I knew that Lu Chen would definitely accept the challenge. I was right. Don't say anything else. He's a real man. From now on, I've become a fan. Of course, there were also people who expressed concern. After all, Li Zhiqing was a professional taekwondo master. How could he be easy to deal with? Due to the impact of the incident, Li Zhiqing's name quickly became known by the netizens in China. Many videos about him circulated online and were seen by many people. Videos of Olympic competitions were nothing much. Even if it was a championship match, it would not leave a deep impact on people. This was because regular competitions had various rules that limited the performance of the players. It was like comparing professional boxing with Olympic boxing. The former was much more lethal. In terms of stamina and strength, professional boxing far exceeded the Olympic competition. After all, the purpose of the Olympic Games was to promote sports. In many aspects, it was inferior to professional boxing. Taekwondo, the Wuqing sect that Li Zhiqing represented, was very focused on actual combat. It reduced the rules and restrictions to make the matches more exciting. His ambition was to promote the Wuxia sect to the world and establish a professional taekwondo competition that was comparable to boxing or kickboxing. There were many videos of him fighting with others on the internet. It was undoubtedly more thrilling than the Olympic competition and showed his strength. Therefore, after watching the videos, it would be too blind to say that Liu Chan would definitely win. Unlike the domestic fans or passers-by, the Korean netizens were obviously more inclined to their hero. I think Li Zhiqing will win. I remember that he has never lost before. I like Liu Chan a lot. The few TV series he filmed are really good, but I also don't think he will win. Choosing to fight Li Zhiqing at the Wuxia dojo? Haha, how confident. Or should I say arrogant? These comments were very tactful and polite. Many Korean netizens mocked Liu Chan for overestimating himself, saying that Chinese kung fu was nothing in front of taekwondo, and so on. Some hot-blooded Li Zhiqing fans who knew Chinese even went to China's Waves blog and mocked Liu Chan's blog post. Your idol is only worthy of our hero's guidance. This time it was like poking a hornet's nest. The number of Liu Chan's fans on Waves had already exceeded 100 million. Now that he had encountered such a hot topic, how could his fans tolerate a few Korean clowns jumping around in front of them? Therefore, under the leadership of Liu Chan's fan club, countless netizens crossed the Yalu River in high spirits and made their way to Korea's FLOO. They registered a large number of IDs and stirred up trouble in Li Zhiqing's FLOO comments section. The participants in this battle were not only Liu Chan's fans, but also many online volunteers. Their most powerful weapon was a unique emoji pack. Mocking emoji, contemptuous emoji, indifferent emoji, funny emoji. Many of the emoji packs were made of Korean celebrities. It was like using a spear to attack a shield. They messed up Li Zhiqing's FLO as a counterattack to the Koreans' provocation. In fact, this was not the first time something like this had happened. In the past, netizens had gone overseas to debate, but the scale could not be compared to this time. Due to the influx of a large number of IDs, coupled with the fact that there were too many comments, it even caused FLOO to crash and could not return to normal for an hour or two. The Koreans who were caught off guard were stunned. They had never encountered such a situation before, and did not know how to deal with it. The battle between Liu Chan and Li Zhiqing had not been finalized, but the netizens of China and Korea had already started an unprecedented battle. Chapter 768. The online war between China and Korea did not last long. Due to the ferocity of the Chinese netizens' attacks, the number of participants was beyond imagination. FLO's website was overwhelmed and had to block IPs from China. Many Korean netizens were unwilling to give up and went to the Waves blog to make a fuss. However, they could not do anything. On the 31st, Liu Chan received Li Zhiqing's letter of challenge at the Shilla Hotel. The Taekwondo master had sent his disciple, Pu Yongjun, to deliver the letter of challenge. Accompanying him was a reporter from Korea's MBC TV station. MBC was the second largest TV station in Korea, and Li Zhiqing's intentions were clear. The letter of challenge was written in Chinese, and it was written with a brush. The calligraphy was quite good, and the strokes were vigorous and flamboyant, just like Li Zhiqing himself. There was an unconcealable sharpness to it. In the letter of challenge, Li Zhiqing said that he would wait for Liu Chan at the Wuxia dojo, and the time would be decided by Liu Chan. Under the two cameras, Liu Chan calmly read the letter of challenge, then said to Li Zhiqing's disciple, Pu Yongjun, "Then let's set it for the morning after tomorrow. I'll be there at 9 o'clock on the 2nd. On the 2nd, Pu Yongjun was stunned. Li Zhiqing's challenge was a very serious matter, and it had caused a lot of commotion. Such a challenge should be treated with great importance. No matter what, it should take a few days to prepare, right? Liu Chen's attitude was too calm, as if he was not preparing for an important duel, but simply having a meal. Pu Yongjun's expression became a little strange as he thought about it. Liu Chen asked, "Mr. Park, is there a problem?" Pu Yongjun came back to his senses and looked deeply at Liu Chan. He shook his head and said, "No problem." The time and place would be decided by Liu Chan. This was promised by Li Zhiqing himself, so of course, he could not make the decision on his own. However, he could not help but add, "Mr. Liu, do you really not need to prepare?" Pu Yongjun's Chinese was pretty good, and his pronunciation was perfect. That was why Li Zhiqing sent him to represent Lu Chun and deliver the letter of challenge. Lu Chun smiled and said, I think 1 day of preparation time is enough. Pu Yongjun couldn't help but feel angry in his heart. If it weren't for the TV reporters following him and the reputation of his mentor, he would definitely teach Lu Chun a lesson first. He had seen arrogant people, but he had never seen someone this arrogant. Pu Yongjun didn't think that Lu Chun was Li Zhiqing's opponent. In his eyes, Lu Chun was a guy who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. He was destined to be stepped on by his master. All right. He clenched his teeth and said, My master has another suggestion, and he wants to ask for your opinion. Lu Chun said, Go ahead. Pu Yongjun calmed down and said, My master hopes that MBC TV station will broadcast this match live. MBC TV station is willing to pay 1.5 billion won as the winner's reward. He hoped to see a shocked look on Lu Chen's face. He believed that it would definitely be beyond Lu Chen's expectation. The key was not the 1.5 billion won reward but the live broadcast. If it was just a duel behind closed doors, the outcome would naturally not have a big impact. But a live broadcast was a completely different matter, and it would put a lot of pressure on both sides. Li Zhiqing was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. A live broadcast was not pressure for him but motivation. It was the opposite for Lu Chun. Of course, Lu Chun could refuse, but it would mean that he would lose in momentum and confidence. A duel between masters was not only a competition of strength and speed, but also psychological quality. Li Zhiqing's proposal to broadcast the duel was an open and aboveboard scheme. Lu Chun could only choose to agree or refuse. Regardless of whether he agreed or refused, it would be exactly what Li Zhiqing wanted. The duel between the two sides had actually started when this Taekwondo master issued the challenge on FLOO. Today, sending a letter of challenge was equivalent to directly making a move. Pu Yongjun was very clear about his master's intentions, so he was full of admiration. He looked at Lu Chun with a subtle hint of mockery in his eyes. However, Pu Yongjun was soon disappointed. This was because Lu Chun was not the least bit surprised or embarrassed after listening to him. On the contrary, it was as if he had expected it. Lu Chun smiled and said, That's fine. But since you have invited MBC TV station to do a live broadcast, we also need to invite domestic TV stations to participate in the live broadcast. Of course, we will also pay the corresponding fees. He knew that Li Zhiqing's proposal to broadcast the duel live was not only to put pressure on him, but also to expand his influence. What could be better than a live broadcast on a TV station? But how could Lu Chun not be willing? Since he wanted to play, he might as well play big. Pu Yongjun was taken aback again and immediately said, That's fair and reasonable. I don't think there's a problem. The smile on Lu Chen's face grew wider. That's good, but isn't 1.5 billion won too little? I think our domestic TV stations are willing to pay at least 30 million yuan for the live broadcast rights. 1.5 billion won was equivalent to less than 10 million yuan. As a live broadcast of a duel, it was a lot, but Lu Chun really didn't think much of it. Beijing Television or Zhidong Satellite TV were absolutely willing to pay 3 or 4 times the price to win the live broadcast rights. Because he was Lu Chun and he was worth this price. Lu Chen's teasing smile made Pu Yongjun's face burn, and even the faces of several people from MBC TV station next to him were embarrassed. Pu Yongjun actually knew the truth. MBC didn't pay 1.5 billion for this live broadcast at all. Most of it was paid by Li Zhiqing himself in order to increase his influence. Anyway, he could win it back. As a result, he was ridiculed by Lu Chun. Yes, in Pu Yongjun's view, Lu Chen's words were naked ridicule. 30 million yuan. That's equivalent to 5 billion won. Pu Yongjun didn't doubt that Lu Chun was talking nonsense because Chinese people were really rich now. Many South Korean stars and artists went to China to shoot films and TV shows. And the money they earned was more than 10 times or even dozens of times more than in China. With Lu Chen's popularity and influence in China, it was normal for rich big TV stations to be willing to pay for him. But where did Lu Chun get so much confidence? But at this time, Pu Yongjun couldn't back down. He braced himself and said, Can you postpone the time of the competition for another 2 days? I think there are a lot of companies willing to sponsor. Lu Chun said with a smile, Then let's change it to January 5th. Looking at his confident smile, Pu Yongjun suddenly felt that things had deviated from their predetermined track. Chapter 769. The year 2017 had already become history. On the first day of the new year, as per usual, Lu Chen updated his blog post on his Waves blog, thanking all his fans for their support and love for him in the past year, and wishing them all the best in the new year. As of 9 a.m. on January 1, 2018, Lu Chen's Waves blog had a total of 105720,254 fans. With an unparalleled attitude, he was the undisputed king of popularity in the country. In 2017, his career had made great progress, and his personal wealth had increased by more than 10 times. His relationship with Chen Feier was sweet and stable, and it could be said to be a double harvest in both love and career. As a celebrity artist, Lu Chen could be said to have reached the peak of his life. However, he was not satisfied with this. The glory of the past belonged to the past, and 2018 was just the beginning of his journey. With regards to Lu Chen's New Year's wishes, the fans naturally responded like a tide. Other than the same wishes, there were two main questions that everyone was most concerned about. First, of course, was Li Zhiqing's challenge. The fans were eager to know when the duel between Lu Chen and Li Zhiqing would be held, and if Lu Chen had the confidence to defeat this Korean Taekwondo master. In fact, the answer to the question of confidence did not need to be guessed. If Lu Chen did not have the confidence, why would he accept Li Zhiqing's challenge? Everyone simply wanted to hear Lu Chen's most resolute answer, so that the fans would have more confidence. Of course, Lu Chen would not let his fans down, and he replied to everyone's questions immediately. This duel that had caused a sensation in both China and Korea, if everything went smoothly, would be held on January 5th. At that time, it would be broadcasted live by domestic television stations and online media, so that everyone could watch. As for confidence, he was confident that he would win. The second thing that the fans were concerned about was whether Lu Chen and Chen Feier's relationship would bear fruit in 2018. The fans had good reason to be concerned. Just yesterday, December 31st, the famous actor Yang Han had announced that he had amicably broken up with his girlfriend of 7 years, Xiao Li. The news quickly made its way to the top of the search rankings. Yang Han and Xiao Li were classmates at Beijing Film Academy. The two of them had starred in many films and TV series together. They were lovers in the movies, but they were also lovers outside of it. Who knew how many times they had flaunted their love and displayed their affection on their blogs? Speaking of couples in the entertainment industry, if there was a ranking list, Lu Chen and Chen Feier would definitely be number 1, while Yang Han and Xiao Li would at least be in the top 3. Who knew how many single people would be envious of them? However, this talented and beautiful couple suddenly announced their breakup without any warning. Soon after, someone exposed the inside story of the two's relationship problems, which inevitably made people sigh deeply. In the entertainment industry, it was all too common for men and women to break up and get back together. Some fell in love, some cheated. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it was filthy. In such an industry, Lu Chen and Chen Feier's relationship was undoubtedly a clean stream. The fans definitely didn't want to see their favorite idol, the best couple in their hearts, have a problem. Therefore, they very much hoped that their relationship would bear fruit in the new year. In this regard, Lu Chen's answer was very simple: please wait and see. And when Lu Chen interacted with his fans on his blog, the domestic TV media and online media circle exploded. Li Zhiqing's challenge to Lu Chen had caused a huge commotion. It was currently the hottest topic on the internet, with a huge number of people paying attention to it. It was the real focus of the news. Now that Lu Chen said that this highly anticipated match would be broadcasted live by domestic television and online media, the question was, which television station and online media would broadcast it live? There was no news at all. Such a big news and hot topic, the unit that got the live broadcast right must have shouted it all over the world and 100% would not hide it. Otherwise, how could it attract rich advertisers? It must be known that the time of the duel was January 5th, and there were only a few days left. So the only answer was that no television station or online platform had obtained the live broadcast right at present, and according to the past practice, such a live broadcast could only be given to one television station and one online platform. Quick hands get it, slow hands get nothing. The quickest to react was Beijing Television. Relying on the good cooperative relationship between the two sides and the geographical advantage, Beijing Television's deputy director Chen Qi took people directly to the headquarters of Chunfei Media and bet on Lu Xi's door. Relying on the pull of You from the Star, Beijing Television's advertising income last year doubled. Deputy Director Chen, who strongly advocated for the premier broadcast right of You from the Star, could be said to be in limitless glory and was likely to enter CCTV to take up a new post this year. He had tasted a big sweetness, so how could he miss this opportunity and take the lead in fighting for the live broadcast right? Zhejiang Satellite TV's reaction was a little slow, but the phone was quickly called Lu Xi's mobile phone. Not only the two major satellite TV stations in Beijing and Zhejiang, Shonan TV was also interested in getting involved, and other satellite TV stations were also unwilling to be left out. They also sent people to the door or called to inquire. Compared with the major satellite TV stations competing for hegemony, there are relatively fewer competitors on online platforms, but all of them are also big shots. QQ Network, EasyNet Network, Whale TV. The key to the competition was undoubtedly QQ and Whale TV. Both of them had a good cooperative relationship with Lu Chen. The strength of QQ would definitely crush Whale TV, but Whale TV had signed an endorsement contract with Lu Chen and had an advantage. In addition to the media, many brands also came one after another, wanting to sponsor this competition. For a time, several of Lu Xi's mobile phones were blown up by people, and the phone in the office was ringing non-stop, making the customer service on duty miserable. They couldn't relax even on New Year's Day. Look at the trouble you've caused. It wasn't until noon that Lu Xi finally found the time to call Lu Chen and complained, "You had a good time in South Korea, but I didn't even have time to answer the phone. How can I solve it?" Lu Chen was visiting Jingfu Palace with Chen Fa. When he received a call from Lu Xi, he said with a smile, "Do as you see fit. Anyway, give priority to long-term partners. By the way, you have to tell the TV station that the winner will win all the live broadcast income of this competition." "If I win," he said, "except for necessary expenses, all the income will be donated to the Chunfei Charity Fund." Lu Xi suddenly lost her temper. "I understand. No one dislikes having more money, but people are different. Some people earn more money than they can spend in several lifetimes, but they are still stingy with even a penny of charity." And Lu Chen was more willing to take out money to help those who needed help. He also gained the respect of others, the support of fans, and many things that couldn't be bought with money. Money was not the key, so Lu Xi's choice was very simple. After the two ended the call, the official V of Chunfei Media quickly released relevant news, which once again caused a heated discussion on the Waves blog. Chapter 770. Seoul's Gangnam District Wuxia Dojo. This building, which covered an area of 10 acres, was originally the residence of a high-ranking military officer stationed in Korea during the Japanese occupation of Korea. Therefore, the style was more Japanese, but it retained much of the essence of Korean houses. The white walls and black tiles were hidden in the shade of the trees, creating a unique scenery. The door of the dojo was open, and the four gilded Chinese characters, Wuxia Dojo, were hanging under the eaves of the corridor. They shone brightly under the sunlight, and the strokes were bold and vigorous. These four words were personally written by Li Zhiqing. He had obtained the ownership of this building 10 years ago, and used it as a place where he passed down his teachings. It had also become the 10th dojo outside of the 9 major dojos, and the core of the Wuxia sect. 10 men dressed in traditional taekwondo uniforms lined up on the left and right, greeting the visitor in the most solemn manner. They were all very young and had the vigor and arrogance of youth. As they bowed, they stared eagerly at Lu Chen, who had crossed the threshold, with sparks dancing in their eyes. Everyone knew that this man from China, who was about the same age as them, would challenge Li Zhiqing, their supreme mentor. These disciples of Li Zhiqing believed that Li Zhiqing would definitely win, so they hoped that they would be the ones to fight and defeat Lu Chen. Lu Chen ignored their gazes and calmly admired the exquisiteness of the Wuxia Dojo. Whether it was Japan or Korea, traditional architecture had inherited and absorbed the essence of China's ancient architecture. This building, which had a history of nearly 100 years, was no exception. The layout was grand but not exquisite, and the vicissitudes of time had a unique charm. Li Zhiqing was standing at the door, welcoming the arrival of Lu Chen. This Korean Taekwondo master was 35 years old. He had started learning Taekwondo at the age of 5 and was taught by Choi Hongxi. However, he was also Choi Hongxi's traitor and had a legendary life. Mr. Lu Chan. Seeing Lu Chan, Li Zhiqing bowed and said, "Welcome to the Wuqing dojo." His Mandarin was very standard, and his pronunciation was even better than the standard of many Chinese people. In fact, this Taekwondo master was very respectful of the Chinese civilization. Not only could he speak fluent Mandarin, but he was also proficient in calligraphy. The surrounding Li Zhiqing's disciples couldn't help but reveal surprised expressions. Li Zhiqing rarely treated people with such respect, especially the younger generation. To have him take the initiative to shake their hands was already a great honor. Lu Chun bowed back and said, "Hello, Mr. Li Zhiqing. Please advise me." He straightened up and met Li Zhiqing's gaze. Unlike the other disciples, Li Zhiqing was wearing a traditional Korean robe today. He was tall and thin, had short hair, and had a resolute expression. His eyes were bright and full of expression. With one look, one could tell that he was the kind of person with a strong will. Li Zhiqing's arms were very long, and the joints on his hands were thick. His skin was rough and full of calluses. And the deepest impression that this Korean Taekwondo master left on Lu Chan at first sight was his aura. He didn't show any anger, but he was dignified like a mountain, as if no force could shake him. When Lu Chan was looking through information related to Li Zhiqing 2 days ago, he saw a Taekwondo master's description of him in an article. It said that as an opponent standing in front of Li Zhiqing, it was amazing to be able to remain calm. At that time, Lu Chan thought that it was exaggerated praise. Now that he had seen this master with his own eyes, he realized that the article was not fabricated. While Lu Chan was sizing up Li Zhiqing was also sizing him up. In fact, in Korea, many people did not understand why Li Zhiqing wanted to challenge Lu Chan. In their opinion, Li Zhiqing was a Taekwondo master, while Lu Chan was just a celebrity. The two of them were not on the same level. In Korea, the status of a celebrity was very low. However, Li Zhiqing had never been a person who stuck to the old rules. Otherwise, he would not have established a faction outside of the 9 major Taoist temples and challenged the influential International Taekwondo Union. The idea of challenging Lu Chan started when he saw the video of Lu Chan demonstrating the motion capture system at the Blue Numbers studio. At that time, he realized that this was an opportunity. In order to promote the Wuchang style, Li Zhiqing could be said to have racked his brains. Most importantly, he felt that Lu Chan was fully qualified to be his opponent. Defeated by him. Please. Today, apart from Chen Fei Lu Shi, who had just flown over yesterday, accompanied Lu Chan to the Wuchang Martial Arts Dojo. In the hall of the Wuchang Martial Arts Dojo, 7 cameras were already in place, all aimed at the ring. In addition to the reporters and cameramen of South Korea's MBC TV, there were also live broadcast personnel from Beijing Television in China. This competition, which caused a huge sensation in China and South Korea, would be broadcast live. South Korea's second-largest TV station, MBC, won the live broadcast rights of South Korea, while China's live broadcast rights were sold to Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV. After a fierce competition, Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV finally continued to join forces. The two gave 30 million yuan for this live broadcast, which was equivalent to 5 billion won as a bonus fee. The reason why it was called a bonus was that the money would be obtained by the winner of both sides. Correspondingly, South Korea provided the same amount of sponsorship money. Because MBC was under too much pressure, many South Korean companies jointly sponsored 3.5 billion won plus MBC. It was a total of 5 billion. Among them was the Samsung Consortium. This meant that the winner between Lu Chan and Li Zhiqing would not only win honor, but also a total bonus of 10 billion won. In fact, this was the result of Lu Chan's leniency and did not add other sponsorship fees. For example, the copyright of domestic online live broadcasts was won by QQ Video and Whaley, and the price has steadily exceeded 5 billion won. If Lu Chan can win the final victory, he will win at least 100 million yuan in total income. In professional boxing or kickboxing competitions in the United States, an appearance fee of tens of millions of dollars was common, and an appearance fee of hundreds of millions of dollars was not uncommon. However, in the East, whether it was Taekwondo or other martial arts competitions, The prize money of tens of billions of Korean won was unique. Some South Korean netizens on FLOO called this competition the Battle of 10 Billion, and it quickly spread to China. In the hall of the Wuchang Martial Arts Dojo, everyone's eyes were focused on the two. There were not many spectators at the scene. In addition to the media reporters and the students of the Wuchang Martial Arts Dojo, there were mainly witnesses of the competition, including an official representative of the China Embassy in South Korea. At 9:37 a.m. on January 5, Lu Chan, who had changed into a martial arts suit, and Li Zhicheng, who had changed into a taekwondo suit, stood in the ring at the same time. And the live broadcast had already begun. Chapter 771. WhaleTV Lu Chan vs. Li Zhicheng Battle of 10 Billion Live Broadcast Room. The time difference between Seoul and Beijing is 1 hour. So when Seoul is 9 a.m., Beijing is 8 a.m. January 6th was Saturday, and it was morning. Normally, there wouldn't be many online members on a live broadcast platform like WhaleTV. This was because young people, whether they were office workers or students, would usually be sleeping in at this time of the day. But the live broadcast room of the Battle of 10 Billion live broadcast has been packed. Originally, Lu Chen's appointment with Li Zhicheng was on January 5th, but because of the needs of the live broadcast, it was postponed by 1 day, which also gave the live broadcast media more time to prepare. On the same day that Chunfei Media released the news, the senior executives of WhaleTV anxiously took the nearest flight to Beijing and put on a posture to win the live broadcast right of the duel at any cost. Of course, WhaleTV's urgency was reasonable. It was through the cooperation with Lu Chan, and through a record-breaking live broadcast, that this live broadcast platform gathered a lot of popularity and successfully jumped to the top of the industry. If they missed this live broadcast, it would inevitably make people doubt whether there was a problem with the cooperation between WhaleTV and Lu Chan, and the members of the platform would definitely be disappointed, which would be a great loss for WhaleTV. Unsurprisingly, WhaleTV's plot encountered a strong competitor, QQ Video. Under such circumstances, the CEO of WhaleTV went to Beijing in person, and after hard negotiations, finally reached a win-win agreement and jointly obtained the right to live broadcast with QQ Video. After signing the contract, WhaleTV immediately launched large-scale publicity and even temporarily purchased 2 high-performance servers to provide the fluency of the live video. It turned out that WhaleTV's decision was very correct. At 7 o'clock in the morning, more than 2 million viewers had poured into the live broadcast room of the Battle of 10 Billion Live, and by 8 o'clock, the number had reached 5 million. If it weren't for QQ Video that diverted a lot of fans, the number of online viewers would have been much higher. Many viewers, including many fans of Lu Chan, set their alarm clocks, and then lay in the warm bed to log in and watch with their mobile phones to cheer for Lu Chan. Is it about to start? It should be starting soon. I-chan am already in the arena. Ah, Lu Chan looks so handsome in his training clothes. I-chan will win. That goes without saying. We don't need to guess the outcome. We just need to guess which round Lu Chan defeated Li Zhicheng. I'm guessing it's within 10 rounds of the first round. Haha. In addition to the overflowing number of people in the live streaming room, Lu Chen's official Tieba had also gathered a large number of fans. In response to the Battle of 10 Billion, the official Tieba forum also launched a dedicated discussion section. While watching the live broadcast online or on TV, these fans were also discussing fervently in the forum. There was no lack of professionals among them, analyzing and commenting on Lu Chan and Li Zhicheng from all aspects. Such professional posts often attracted a lot of discussion from fans. Compared with the one-sided optimism and support in the live streaming room, the professional analysis post was undoubtedly much calmer, because Li Zhicheng's brilliant record could not be ignored, and he also had many videos which showed the strength of this taekwondo master in all aspects. In contrast, Lu Chen's record was really much worse. He had not participated in any competition, nor had he had a formal confrontation with others. In terms of experience alone, he was far inferior to Li Zhicheng. Of course, even Li Zhicheng himself did not dare to underestimate Lu Chan. In an interview with the media the day before yesterday, he publicly stated that he had the confidence to win, but he was not sure of winning. Or some people said that this was Li Zhicheng's modesty and caution, but Lu Chen's skill had already been shown in several sensational events, so the match was still full of suspense. What was surprising was that at around 7:30 in the morning, A large number of newly registered IDs suddenly flooded into Lu Chen's official Tieba, and they were desperately flooding the screen with posts. The IP addresses of these accounts were all from overseas, and most of the names were messy, but there were also IDs with Korean characters mixed in. The content of the posts was similar. They were all supporting Li Zicheng, mocking, and even belittling Lu Chan. Netizens who frequented Tieba were all experienced, and with one look, they understood that it was definitely the Korean netizens who rushed to cause trouble at the critical moment, or more accurately, they were looking for trouble. A few days ago, the Chinese netizens blew up FLOO, and there was a time when the server was paralyzed. In the end, the domestic IP address was blocked, and the news was reported on various major media. Now, it was normal for the Korean netizens to come and seek revenge, but the Chinese netizens were not afraid of this, and they were also on their own turf, so there was no need for the main Tieba moderator to call on them. They all picked up their bricks and smashed them, drowning all the posts in an instant. In fact, some of the posts from the Korean netizens were quite professional, and they listed various statistics to prove that Li Zicheng had an advantage over Lu Chan. Unfortunately, their efforts were in vain. After being scolded badly, someone with the ID Park In-song KSO angrily posted on Tieba, "You Chinese people only know how to brag, but our Korean Taekwondo is invincible. Li Zicheng will make all of you shut your mouths." This ID was not newly registered, and it had been verified. Therefore, everyone quickly found out that this Park In-song KSO was actually a rather famous Korean Taekwondo player. He had participated in the London Olympics and won a silver medal. Currently, he had retired and was engaged in promoting Taekwondo. But although he was famous, the netizens did not care about him, and they still smashed him. But everyone was very clear that the outcome of the online debate was actually not important. The most important thing was the outcome of the actual duel. If Lu Chan won, he could naturally hang Park In-song KSO up and whip his corpse. But what if Lu Chan lost? Then everyone's support for Lu Chan might become a joke, and they could only watch the Korean flaunt his prowess. How could they tolerate it? Big numbers of posts on Tieba decreased in an instant, and everyone turned their attention to the live broadcast. Looking at Lu Chan appearing on the stage, countless people were cheering for him in their hearts. Don't lose. At this moment, Lu Chan obviously could not hear the common voice of thousands of fans. He was being checked by the referee to make sure that he did not have any illegal items on him. At the same time, Lu Chan could also feel the gaze from his opponents. It contained the confidence and desire for victory. Chapter 772. Lu Chan vs. Li Zicheng. Li Zicheng was the founder of the Wuxia school of Taekwondo in Korea, while Lu Chan was the founder of China's Kung Fu. A duel between the two was undoubtedly unprecedented, with no precedent to follow. Therefore, the rules of this $10 billion battle were jointly determined by Lu Chan and Li Zicheng. Generally speaking, the rules of a kickboxing professional competition were the main framework, not rigidly adhering to any fixed routines and moves. In actual combat, both sides were allowed to freely perform according to the situation of the battle, flexibly displaying various three-dimensional techniques such as punches, kicks, elbows, knees, falls, and so on. The goal was to ultimately defeat the opponent. This duel used the common 3-round system, with each round lasting 5 minutes. The rules were based on the UFC's unrestricted fighting system in the United States. For example, they were not allowed to attack vital points such as the eyes, crotch, and so on. They were not allowed to bite or tear people apart, and so on. The referees on and off the stage were also invited by the UFC to ensure the fairness of this duel. Of course, the rules were very fair, with the same restrictions and constraints on both sides. However, as the founder of the Wuxia school of Taekwondo, Li Zicheng was very familiar with the rules of this set of kickboxing, and had a wealth of experience. In contrast, Lu Chan was really too lacking, as he did not have the experience of a regular match. This was also an important reason why many people did not think that he could defeat Li Zicheng. Even if the strength of both sides were equal, Li Zicheng could rely on his wealth of experience and rely on points to defeat Lu Chan. On the surface, Lu Chen's biggest advantage was perhaps that he was much younger than Li Zicheng. There was no passionate speech from the live host, no cheers from the thousands of live audience, and no beautiful and sexy girls raising their cards to open the fight. With the crisp sound of a copper bell, the first round of the duel officially began. Li Zicheng's legs and feet were close together, and his arms were naturally hanging by his sides. He clenched his fists slightly, looked at the ground, and gave a standard bow to Lu Chan. Lu Chan clenched his fists and returned the bow. The two of them straightened their backs at the same time, and their gazes collided once more, as if invisible sparks were flashing. All the spectators held their breaths as they stared fixedly at Lu Chan and Li Zhiqing, for fear of missing the slightest detail. Li Zhiqing's disciples even straightened their backs with solemn expressions. In the Whale TV live broadcast room of the Battle of 10 Billion, the originally dense barrage disappeared completely, and there was no one in the Lu Chan official tieba. Although they were confident that Lu Chan would win, when the time for the competition really came, Lu Chen's fans still couldn't help but feel their hearts in their throats as they silently cheered for him. "Hey!" The next moment, Li Zhiqing bellowed and stepped forward abruptly. Within a breath, he covered a distance of 5 meters and approached Lu Chan. He waved his arm as fast as lightning and slashed at Lu Chen's neck with his right palm like a saber. This taekwondo master didn't move, but once he moved, his momentum was like thunder. The speed of his attack was so fast that it made people dumbfounded. The saber in his palm cut through the air with a breathtaking whistling sound, and the force was extremely tyrannical. Li Zhiqing's greatest contribution to taekwondo was that on the basis of traditional taekwondo, he absorbed the essence of kickboxing, karate, sanzhou, and other combat techniques, which greatly improved the actual combat ability of taekwondo. Focusing on actual combat, and using the most rapid speed and the most concise and powerful moves to knock down the opponent was the essence of Wuxia style. Therefore, when those non-Wuxia style taekwondo players fought with Li Zhiqing according to the rules of kickboxing, they would basically collapse at the first touch and would not be able to withstand a single blow. This kind of neo-taekwondo, which focused on actual combat and sharp moves, was very much in line with the appetite of South Korean youth. Therefore, Wuxia style was unique in South Korea and developed rapidly, faintly surpassing the traditional 9 das. However, Li Zhiqing's ambition was not to dominate South Korea, but to promote Wuxia style to the world, establish a professional competition league, and achieve the influence of AFS or UFC. Lu Chan was precisely the stepping stone that Li Zhiqing chose to realize his ambition. The first move that he used on Lu Chan was born out of traditional taekwondo's virtual step hand blade, but it was very different from the standard virtual step hand blade. The attack and power were many times stronger. If this attack landed, it was possible to cut or even break Lu Chen's neck, and knocking him down would be a piece of cake. Exclamations of shock could be heard around the ring. However, Lu Chen's reaction was extremely fast. The moment Li Zhiqing's hand blade slashed at him, he immediately raised his arm to block. Bam! Li Zhiqing's palm slashed heavily on Lu Chen's left arm, forcing the latter's arm to press inward. When his attack missed, he instantly retracted his palm, twisted his waist, and raised his leg. His left leg kicked at Lu Chan at lightning speed. Taekwondo was famous for its unpredictable, elegant, and unrestrained leg techniques. It was called the art of kicking by the world. It had many variations and was flexible. Front kick, horizontal kick, side kick, push kick, back kick, swing kick, backspin kick, double flying kick, wind kick, and other moves were not only powerful but also pleasing to the eye when performed. Li Zhiqing's leg techniques were a big step forward from the traditional foundation. Not only was his leg fast and powerful, but it also had a great element of surprise. The combination of his previous palm blade was seamless. This palm and kick showed the strength of this new taekwondo master to the fullest. His side kick was fast and fierce. Lu Chan did not dare to face it head-on. He immediately took a big step back to defend and barely avoided his opponent's attack. However, Li Zhiqing did not give Lu Chan any chance to take a breather. His left leg that missed its target suddenly landed on the ground. Using his left foot as a support point, he suddenly exerted force and jumped into the air. At the same time, he twisted his body and kicked at Lu Chen's face. A beautiful whirlwind kick. His consecutive moves were too fast. Lu Chen could not dodge in time. He could only raise his arms and cross them in front of his body. Bam! Li Zhiqing's foot heavily kicked the point where Lu Chen's arms crossed, making a muffled explosion. The power of his flying kick was so strong that even Lu Chan could not resist it. He took 3 big steps back and was completely at a disadvantage. Good. Below the ring, Li Zhiqing's disciples cheered. They were all beaming with joy as if victory was right in front of them. The first round had just begun. Not only did Li Zhiqing take the initiative, but he also suppressed Lu Quan. 3 consecutive moves made Lu Quan only have the ability to defend and not fight back. They were very clear that once Li Zhiqing took the initiative, his attacks would only become fiercer and fiercer, until he completely destroyed his opponent's defense and willpower. Therefore, in the Taekwondo circle, Li Zhiqing had the nickname of Tiger of Korea. They believed that under Li Zhiqing's attacks, Lu Quan would not be able to withstand more than a few rounds. He would definitely be defeated. Correspondingly, Lu Quan's fans who were watching the live broadcast in front of their phones, computers, and televisions were all nervous and silent. Li Zhiqing's strength was unexpected. Chapter 773. In a fight between masters, strength, speed, reflexes, skills, and other physical strength were not the only things that mattered. Momentum was imposing aura. Once one struck out with one's imposing aura in a battle, it would definitely be able to sweep away all obstacles. Li Zhiqing seized the initiative to make a move at the start of the battle, and he firmly grasped this momentum, completely suppressing Lu Quan into a disadvantageous position. Even the audience who did not know Taekwondo or kickboxing could easily see that Li Zhiqing's momentum was like a rainbow at that moment, and he could turn his winning momentum into a real victory at any time. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had fought for more than 10 rounds. Li Zhiqing had the initiative, and he displayed his leg technique to the fullest. Whoosh! Whoosh! He strode forward and approached Lu Quan. Suddenly, he lifted his right leg to attack Lu Quan's left ribs. At the same time, he jumped with his left leg, turned right, and kicked Lu Quan's chest and abdomen with his left leg, forming an alternating attack with his left and right leg. Double flying kick. The disciples of the Wuxia dojo below the ring felt their blood boil. They could not help but cheer, and many of them were extremely excited. Double flying kick was a classic attack move in Taekwondo, but it was not easy to use it properly. Besides, the weakness of double flying kick was very obvious. The movements were simple, but there was a pattern to them. It was difficult to change the direction of the attack, and it was easy for the opponent to counter it. But when Li Zhiqing used it, the moves were smooth like flowing water. The speed, strength, and timing of the attack were all on point. Lu Quan had no chance to counterattack. He could only stand in a horse stance and use his arms to block. He was forced to take another step back. And he had already retreated to the edge of the ring. There were no ropes on the edge of the ring, and it was not very high. Moreover, the edge of the ring was sloping. Once someone was knocked out of the ring, it would be very easy for them to fall to the ground. Although they would not be injured, the scene would definitely be very ugly. Also, according to the preset rules, being knocked out of the ring would count according to the number of points. It could be said that under Li Zhiqing's storm-like attacks, Lu Quan was in a very disadvantageous situation. But at that moment, Lu Quan did not panic at all. After blocking Li Zhiqing's double flying kick, he took the opportunity when Li Zhiqing had just landed to suddenly punch Li Zhiqing's face. This was Lu Quan's first counterattack since the start of the first round. Li Zhiqing's attack speed could be considered to be extremely fast. He originally wanted to continuously use double flying kicks to kick Lu Quan out of the arena, but no matter how fast his kicking speed was, how could it be faster than a straight punch? The Taekwondo master decisively gave up on the attack and turned to the left side of Lu Quan with nimble steps. While avoiding Lu Quan's fist, he swung his arm again and fiercely chopped at Lu Quan's neck. Pa! Lu Quan raised his left hand in time to catch Li Zhiqing's palm blade. His waist, abdomen, chest, and arms pushed forward at the same time, hitting Li Zhiqing's body. Li Zhiqing's body suddenly swayed, and he involuntarily took half a step back. A look of surprise flashed across his eyes as he continued to retreat, widening the distance between them. Li Zhiqing was very clear about the strength of his palm blade. Not only did Lu Quan easily take it, but he also used the momentum to complete a beautiful counterattack. This move was really beyond his expectations. Through the head-on confrontation, he could feel that Lu Quan's strength was definitely not below his. This made Li Zhiqing decisively give up the idea of a quick fight and become cautious. Correspondingly, his momentum was also greatly weakened, and he no longer had the upper hand. This was precisely the experience of this Taekwondo master. He was not impatient, not greedy for achievements, and did not care about temporary gains and losses. He was very free to switch between offense and defense, and he could withdraw and release his strength at will. Moreover, Li Zhiqing had already calculated his move when he retreated. If Lu Qian wanted to take the opportunity to counterattack, then he would definitely give Lu Qian a big surprise. But after forcing Li Zhiqing to retreat, Lu Qian did not take advantage of the victory to pursue. He only took 2 steps forward, retracted his palm, and formed a confrontation with Li Zhiqing again. The sound of sighs and exhalations sounded around the ring. Of course, Li Zhiqing's disciples felt very sorry. It was obvious that Li Zhiqing was about to kick Lu Qian out of the ring, but he failed at the last moment. How could they not sigh? As for the people who supported Lu Qian, of course it was a big relief. Of course it also included the fans sitting in front of the TV, or watching the live broadcast with their mobile phones or computers. The Whale TV live broadcast room, which had been silent for a few minutes, instantly exploded. Damn! Li Zhiqing is really powerful. I didn't expect it. No wonder he dared to issue a challenge to Lu Qian. He has some skills. I was worried to death just now. I was really worried that Lu Qian would be beaten out of the ring. Don't worry, I haven't fought back yet. I will definitely give the Koreans a good look later. Don't be careless. Although the fans firmly supported Lu Qian, Li Zhiqing's fighting performance was also obvious to all, so people had to admit his strength. Not many people would lie with their eyes open. In less than 2 minutes, the two sides fought more than a dozen rounds. Basically, Li Zhiqing was attacking and Lu Qian was defending. The former's advantage was very obvious, and the fight was thrilling and wonderful. Especially when Li Zhiqing used the double flying kick. Many people's hearts were in their throats. When they saw that Lu Qian held on and repelled the opponent, they were all relieved. Some fans, especially female fans, didn't want to watch anymore. It was really too exciting. In Lu Qian's official post bar, a new post appeared. Park and Ching KSO posted again. I believe you have all seen that Teacher Zhiqing's strength is beyond doubt. He hasn't played his full strength yet, otherwise the battle would have been over. So don't take chances and admit your failure. It's not shameful. This professional Taekwondo master obviously had great confidence in Li Zhiqing, and the facts seemed to prove that some of his words were not wrong, but the arrogance in his words made the fans on the post bar extremely unhappy. In an instant, the number of replies reached as many as hundreds. In addition to refuting, most of them were scolding. Park and Ching KSO quickly opened another post. Vulgar words can only mean your failure. His Chinese was undoubtedly very good, and his choice of words was smooth and standard, expressing the meaning of mockery very well. This made many of Lu Qian's fans angry and helpless, because apart from cursing, it was really difficult for them to refute the other side with confidence. After all, in the ring it was strength that spoke, not words. And just after Park and Ching KSO posted a new post, Lu Qian, who had been confronting Li Zhiqing for a moment, launched a brazen attack on his opponent. Chapter 774. Since the beginning of the Battle of 10 Billion, Lu Qian had been on the defensive. However, Lu Qian's defense was not to passively take a beating, but to measure the Taekwondo master's strength, speed, and combat ability through the confrontation with Li Zhiqing. Therefore, although the situation was ugly, he was actually able to defend with ease. It was only when he was about to be knocked out of the ring that Lu Qian decisively counterattacked. This made Li Zhiqing, who was fighting smoothly before, suddenly sober up. He wisely returned to his original position instead of gambling and continued to attack. He adopted a more cautious posture to deal with Lu Qian. This also showed Li Zhiqing's shrewdness and experience. Under such circumstances, Lu Qian's forbearance and probing no longer had any meaning. The offensive and defensive momentum of the two sides was reversed. He quickly approached Li Zhiqing, raised his left arm horizontally in front of him, and clenched his right hand into a fist and punched his opponent's head like lightning. Simple, direct, and fast. This was the first time that Lu Qian used the kung fu skills that he had honed over a long period of time in public. Chi! The iron fist broke through the air and made a soul-stirring sound, which made Li Zhiqing's face change involuntarily. The fist speed was too fast. He had no time to parry, so he immediately dodged sideways and retracted his left leg, ready to sweep and kick back. However, just as Li Zhiqing lifted his leg, Lu Qian's right leg suddenly swept over. Bang! The left and right legs of both sides slammed together, and the dull sound made everyone's eyelids twitch. Li Ziqing instantly retracted his leg, and the muscles in the corner of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. With a low shout, he waved his palm knife and fiercely chopped at Lu Chen, who was close at hand. Pa! His palm knife was blocked by Lu Chen's left arm, and Lu Chen's right fist almost at the same time found a gap and bombarded Li Ziqing's chest. Li Ziqing suddenly felt as if he was struck by lightning. He couldn't help but stagger back, and the horror in his heart was indescribable. Lu Chen's attack was not out of his expectations, because he had already seen through Lu Chen's patience, so he was fully prepared to let Lu Chen go all out to attack, and then look for an opportunity to counterattack while defending. But never had he imagined that Lu Chen's attacks would come so swiftly. Even more inconceivable was that Lu Chen seemed to be able to see through his every move, and was always able to perfectly seal off his counterattack before giving him a heavy blow. Li Ziqing didn't believe that Lu Chen had the ability to see through his moves. Nor did he believe that Lu Chen had completely seen through his moves. The only explanation was that Lu Chen's reaction was too fast, giving him the illusion that he had been seen through. At the same time, Lu Chen's combat ability had also exceeded his expectations. He did not suffer this punch unjustly. Hua! Seeing that Li Ziqing was repelled by Lu Chen's punch, all the Wuxia disciples stood up. They couldn't believe their eyes. Li Ziqing, who was the symbol of invincibility in their eyes, actually failed to successfully defend against Lu Chen's counterattack and lost unmistakably. Compared to these Li Ziqing disciples, Lu Chen's fans who were watching the live broadcast of the match finally broke out into collective cheers and applause for the first time since the start of the match. Beautiful! This punch is too beautiful. Ha ha ha, I said that Chen will win. Now who dares to say that there is any danger? Although I don't understand it very well, it looks really powerful. Lu Chen, come on, beat Li Ziqing. Wonderful. In the Whale TV live broadcast room, it was just like a festival. Countless fans were reveling, and countless barrage and gifts were sent out. Aircraft carriers came out one after another as if they didn't cost anything. In the official Tieba, Lu Chen's supporters were even more proud and elated. One after another, they posted the post of Park Un-song KSO, asking them to admit defeat to the top and fiercely beat it. Park Un-song KSO quickly replied, "The match is not over yet." Lu Chen's fans were indeed happy a little too early. Li Ziqing only took a punch and lost points. He was not knocked out of the ring or fell to the ground. It was too optimistic to say that Lu Chen won now. But in the ring, Lu Chen really played his momentum with this wave of wonderful attacks. He quickly caught up with the retreating Li Ziqing, twisted his waist, and kicked the latter's waist and abdomen with a whip kick. A whip kick is equivalent to a horizontal kick or a spinning kick in Taekwondo. It pays particular attention to attacking the opponent by surprise. Speed is the essence. Lu Chen used a whip kick in pursuit, which was intended to oppress Li Ziqing. Li Ziqing's reaction was also very fast. In the case of not being stable, he accelerated back to avoid Lu Chen's whip kick. He immediately stopped and raised his leg to kick Lu Chen's abdomen. His counterattack was a little reluctant, but his pride and conceit did not allow him to retreat again and again. Especially in the case of a head-on confrontation with Lu Chen, the Taekwondo master showed his brave side in addition to his shrewdness. Lu Chen moved to avoid, but the momentum of the attack did not change. Block, dodge, parry, hit. In this arena, the duel between the two sides entered a white-hot state in the blink of an eye. The confrontation of fists and palms, the collision of legs and legs, the muffled sound seemed to be pounding on the hearts of the audience. 4 minutes had passed since the first round's 5-minute time limit. The confrontation between Lu Chen and Li Ziqing was getting more and more intense. The powerful collision between the two sides made the audience shudder with fear. Chanfer and Lu Xi also stood up from their seats. They were extremely nervous. As for the audience watching the live broadcast, they focused all their attention on the screen. They widened their eyes for fear of missing any scene. The time of the match jumped to 4:25. At this time, Lu Chen and Li Ziqing had already attacked dozens of times, and the two sides were evenly matched. Li Ziqing was able to block Lu Chen's fist and took a step back. His forehead was covered in fine sweat, his face was flushed red, but his eyes flashed with a fierce and resolute light. The next moment he suddenly took half a step forward and instantly jumped high in the air. He twisted his body in the air and prepared to kick at Lu Chen. It was the flying backward kick. Li Zhiqing's flying backward kick was also improved. It was also one of his famous unique skills. During practice, he once had an amazing performance of breaking a wooden stake with one kick. It was definitely a powerful move. But at the moment when Li Zhiqing kicked, Lu Chen took half a step forward. He punched both of his fists at the same time, one above and one below, and hit his waist and side crotch at lightning speed. Bang! This was a good point to fight with Lu Chen. His punches were even more decisive and fierce. His hard fists were like leather, and he hit with full force. Li Zhiqing, who was in the air, could not dodge at all. His whole body spun and flew out, and he fell heavily under the ring 4 or 5 meters away. Everyone was dumbfounded. The Wuxia dojo was silent. Chapter 775. Who would have thought that Li Zhiqing, who was locked in a battle with Lu Chen, would be knocked out of the ring? The taekwondo master fell heavily on the plastic floor. He flipped over and pressed his hands on the ground to jump up. Although his movements were very beautiful, it could not hide his embarrassment of defeat. The air in the Wuxia dojo seemed to have frozen. Everyone's eyes were focused on him. A bitter smile appeared on Li Zhiqing's face. He shook his head and returned to the ring. At this moment, there were only 10 seconds left before the end of the first round of the 10 billion battle. Those Wuchang disciples who were in a state of shock, bewilderment, and despair suddenly had a look of anticipation in their eyes. According to the rules of the competition, as long as Li Zhiqing did not admit defeat, he could still continue. At most he would just lose a lot of points. There were still 2 rounds left. He still had a chance to turn the tables. However, to everyone's surprise, Li Zhiqing did not drag the time until the end of the first round. Instead, he solemnly bowed to Lu Chen and said, "The victory of this competition belongs to you, sir." He actually admitted defeat. There was an uproar in the audience. Lu Chen returned a fist salute and said, "He admitted defeat." Lu Chen did not expect Li Zhiqing to admit defeat so cleanly. He could not help but admire him. As the saying goes, there is no first place in literature, and no second place in martial arts. As the representative of Korean Taekwondo and the founder of the Wuxia style, Li Zhiqing, who possessed great strength and ambition, placed great importance on this match. A martial artist like him must have a strong will, and would not admit defeat easily because it concerned his dignity. It was precisely because of this that his calm attitude towards defeat was very praiseworthy. In the previous battles, this Taekwondo master's fighting spirit was impeccable. Many martial artists were very good at using the rules. When the situation was unfavorable, they liked to dodge, hold, delay, or even use foul tactics to prolong the match. This could not be said to be wrong. As long as the rules allowed it, there was no problem. Glory belonged to the final winner. Even if the situation before was ugly, the winner would never be blamed. However, Li Zhiqing did not use such a move. It was impossible that he did not know it. It was just pride. A loss was a loss. There was no excuse. Lu Chen admired Li Zhiqing for admitting defeat, because he would have made the same choice if he were in Li Zhiqing's shoes. Sparring was not a battle of life and death. Admitting that one was inferior to one's opponent was a form of courage. Of course, for Lu Chen's fans, they won't think so much. They only know one irrefutable fact, that is, Lu Chen won. The victory belonged to Lu Chen. Lu Chen defeated Li Zhiqing before the end of the first round, which could be said to be a battle of tens of billions that attracted worldwide attention. All the fans who were paying attention to this match were all fired up, especially in the Whale 2 live broadcast room. It was simply boiling. The barrage of messages and rewards was so great that the server was about to crash. "My Chen is mighty. Victory belongs to us. Ha ha, I told you that Lu Chen would win. I was right." What happened just now was really amazing. Lu Chen's counterattack was simply a stroke of genius. No, it was a punch of God. I've decided. I want to learn China Kung Fu too. Strong. According to the official post-event statistics of Whale T, in the 1 minute after Li Zhiqing bowed his head to Lu Chen and admitted defeat, the number of online viewers of Battle of 10 Billion exceeded 10 million, and a total of 13 million messages were brushed, as well as rewards and gifts worth a total of 8 million plus. This record was not broken for the next 10 years, until Lu Chan stood on the podium of the Oscars, at the same time, in Lu Chen's official tieba. In addition to the fans' crazy celebration, the beating of Park and-shin KSO became the most important theme. Everyone ridiculed and laughed to their heart's content in several of his posts. Although it was a bit unkind, wasn't it a relief? Park and-shin KSO did not respond anymore, but went offline directly, and never came online again. In addition, the comprehensive ratings of the live broadcast of the competition by Zhejiang Satellite TV and Beijing Television exceeded 15%, and the number of views of QQ Video exceeded 100 million, breaking their respective records. The impact of this was very far-reaching. Many years later, when people talk about China Kung Fu or Taekwondo, this battle of 10 billion will always be indispensable. It also made China Kung Fu really begin to take root in people's hearts. While the domestic audience and fans were celebrating the victory, in the Wuxia martial arts headquarters, the famous referee from the United States officially announced the result of the competition. Lu Chan defeated Li Zhicheng. No one expressed any objection to this. Even Li Zhicheng's disciples were silent. Li Zhicheng is very able to pick up and put it down. His careful planning has become a wedding dress for others. He did not show any flustered or resentful remorse, but politely invited Lu Chan to communicate in private. Lu Chan readily agreed. In an elegant room in the Wuxia martial arts headquarters, Li Zhicheng personally brewed a pot of green tea for Lu Chan and others. After drinking 2 cups of tea, the atmosphere became harmonious. The Taekwondo master suddenly said, "Mr. Lu Chan, the China Kung Fu you created is very different from traditional China martial arts, but I can see the inheritance of boxing and leg techniques from it, which is more powerful than I thought. I admire it very much. I wonder if you have the idea of promoting this powerful skill to the world?" Lu Chan was stunned. He didn't expect Li Zhicheng to ask such a question. Lu Chen's Kung Fu first came from the memories in the dream world, which belonged to Mo Ran. However, it was not enough for him to inherit it completely, but on this basis, he had his own creations and ideas. Inheritance and development, coupled with his changed talent, made Lu Chan truly powerful. Li Zhicheng's eyes were very keen. As for promoting China Kung Fu, he really had such an idea. After thinking for a while, Lu Chan replied frankly, "Mr. Li Zhicheng, I do have such an idea, but now is not the time, and I don't have the time to realize my intention for the time being." He was first and foremost an artist, and his acting and singing career was his foundation. Promotion Kung Fu also needed to be carried out on the basis of developing his career, so he couldn't neglect the essentials. Li Zhicheng smiled slightly and said, "If the time is ripe in the future, I wonder if Mr. Lu Chan would be willing to work together with our Wuxia martial arts headquarters to establish a World Martial Arts Professional League competition based on Wuxia Taekwondo and China Kung Fu?" World Martial Arts Professional League. Lu Chan had to admit that Li Zhicheng's proposal was very tempting and constructive. Chapter 776. I think we can agree to cooperate with Li Zhicheng. On the way back to the hotel after leaving the Wuxia dojo headquarters, Lu Shi, who was in the same car, said, "He is very shrewd." Shrewd was the most suitable adjective for businessmen. It felt very inappropriate to use it on a Taekwondo master, but it turned out that Li Zhicheng's shrewdness was beyond everyone's imagination. In the case of being defeated by Lu Chan, he was not frustrated, angry, regretful, or resentful. Instead, he proposed a cooperation proposal to Lu Chan that was beneficial to both sides. It was not wrong to say that he was a little shrewd. In this way, Li Zhicheng turned the disadvantage into an advantage. As long as the two sides could reach an agreement, then this battle of 10 billion would become a good story, and the damage to his reputation would naturally be minimized. In addition, his ambitious ambitions would not suffer a major setback because of this. Instead, he would get a strong partner in his own camp, which would be more conducive to the expansion of his career. Of course, if Li Zhicheng wanted to achieve his goal, the most important thing was to get the approval and support of Lu Chan. If Lu Chan did not agree, then his efforts would be meaningless. Because Lu Chan was the winner. He thought about it, nodded and said, "I also agree. You have to talk to him about the specific cooperation plan." Lu Chan thought about it very clearly. Li Zhicheng's proposal to establish the World Martial Arts Competition was a very good idea. Once it was successful, the impact would be very far-reaching and positive. This idea could be combined with his Wuxia Great IP plan to produce a huge impetus. Although the addition of Wuxing Taekwondo would make things a lot more complicated, if Lu Chun did it alone, it would take a lot of time and energy. The result was completely not worth the loss. Li Ziqing had a plan, strength, and ability. He was undoubtedly the most suitable partner. For a long time, in addition to his solo acting career, Lu Chun had used the method of cooperation to expand his career, such as the crowdfunding website, such as Happy Entertainment, Star Factory Media, etc., all of which were successful. Lu Chun was already handy to achieve the sharing of common interests through cooperation. Are you trying to tire me to death? Lu Shi glared at him angrily. You cause big trouble every now and then leave it alone. Even if I have 3 heads and 6 arms, I can't deal with it. Lu Chun smiled bitterly and said, I don't want to either. Maybe we can recruit a few professional managers. His career was getting bigger and bigger. Chunfei Media's next step would be to expand, sign more artists, and shoot more movies and TV series. There would only be more and more things to do. However, Lu Chun did not want his sister to work day and night for this. Money could not be earned and family was more important. While talking, the Mercedes-Benz the 3 of them took arrived at the main entrance of the Shilla Hotel. As a result, as soon as Lu Chun got out of the car, a large group of reporters suddenly appeared out of nowhere. They surrounded Lu Chun as fast as they could, desperately pressing the shutter of the cameras in their hands and extending the microphones in their hands to Lu Chun. Mr. Lu Chun, how do you view this victory? Li Ziqing. Some of them spoke Chinese, some of them spoke English, but most of them spoke Korean. It was a messy mix of languages. Lu Chun did not expect that there would be so many paparazzi in South Korea. They were actually waiting for him at the entrance of the hotel. He could not help but be stunned. In fact, he underestimated the influence of Li Ziqing in South Korea. When this Battle of 10 Billion was broadcast live on MBC TV, it had already caused a sensation in South Korea. As a result, Lu Chun defeated Li Ziqing in the first round, which was beyond the expectations of countless people. Many reporters arrived outside the headquarters early, but more reporters ran to the Shilla Hotel where Lu Chun stayed to follow up the interview, because the chance of waiting for Lu Chun here was much higher. Fortunately, the security personnel appeared in time and quickly separated the reporters. They escorted Lu Chun, Chunfei, and Lu Shi back to the hotel safely. Chunfei said worriedly, Do you think there will be trouble? Why don't you return home earlier? Li Ziqing was a hero in many South Koreans' hearts. Now that he had been defeated by Lu Chun, it was hard to say that there would not be some extreme fans who would do something irrational. Lu Shi supported him. Yes, you two return home first. I'll stay here and talk to Li Ziqing. Lu Chun laughed. It's not that scary. Also, I've agreed to SYG's invitation. I'll go back in 2 days. SYG was a famous management company in South Korea. It was through their cooperation that Lu Chun successfully expanded his career to South Korea. The cooperation between the two parties had been very pleasant. This time, when Lu Chun came to Seoul to participate in the program recording, he also took the time to visit SYG's headquarters. Then SYG made an invitation to him, hoping that Lu Chun could guide SYG's newly formed girl group, Girl. Lu Chun naturally had to fulfill his promise since he had agreed to it. At 12:15 p.m. on January 6, Li Ziqing posted on his personal FLOO. He admitted his defeat and apologized to all his fans who had supported him. This Taekwondo master especially praised Lu Chun's strength. At the same time, he hoped to cooperate with Lu Chun and promote Wuxing-style Taekwondo and Chinese Kung Fu to the world. This was because the two had many similarities and complemented each other in many areas. 5 minutes later, Lu Chun responded to Li Ziqing on FLOO. He said that winning this victory was largely due to luck. He had many things to learn from Li Ziqing, so winning or losing was not important. He also looked forward to working with Li Ziqing. These 2 blog posts could be considered a perfect ending to the Battle of 10 Billion. Lu Chun's humility and sincerity won him countless good reviews and a large number of Korean fans. On the other hand, many Korean Taekwondo, karate, and kickboxing experts jumped out and proposed to challenge Lu Chun. However, they were destined to not receive any response from Lu Chun. Immediately afterward, Lu Chun posted a new blog post on Waves. First of all, he thanked his fans for their support, especially the fans of Whale Tea, who gave him more than 20 million in tips and gifts. However, he would not put this money into his own pocket. After tax, he would donate all of it, along with the income from the live broadcast, to the Chun Fei Charity Foundation to help more people in need. Naturally, the fans were full of praise. The anti-fans who usually appeared in the comments from time to time had completely disappeared. This was because they could not find any fault with him at all. Trying to do so would be asking for humiliation. That night, Central TV Department 1 broadcasted the news of Lu Chen's victory over Li Zhexing in Seoul. The edited video of the battle was 15 seconds long, and it gave Lu Chen a positive evaluation. Chapter 777. Seoul's Gangnam District, Chongtan-dong. XXX-dong in Korea was equivalent to XXX Street in China. Chongtan-dong was located in Korea's most prosperous and affluent Gangnam District. The latter was also seen as the core of Korea's entertainment industry. Famous entertainment agencies such as S.M. GTRF, REOP, and so on gathered here. Every year, large numbers of professionally trained artists would emerge from Gangnam District's Chongtan-dong, Nongyeon-dong, Mojang-dong, and other places, providing a steady stream of new blood for Korea's entertainment industry. SYG's headquarters was in Chongtan-dong. It was a 12-story building. SYG was not the top entertainment agency in Korea. Its power and scale could not be compared to S.M.G. However, it had a long history. This headquarters, built in the early 90s, was the best proof. When Lu Chen arrived at SYG's headquarters, SYG's president, Lee Junhao, was already waiting at the door with many senior executives. Although Lu Chen had already visited here a few days ago, SYG's reception was even higher today. There were even a few major shareholders of SYG among the welcoming crowd. Lu Chen was completely surrounded by them as he stepped into the building. "It was unfortunate last time," Lee Junhao said sincerely. "I was on a business trip in Thailand and could not make it back in time. So, Mr. Lu Chen, please give me a chance to make it up to me. Let's have dinner together." The last time Lu Chen was here, the president of SYG was not in Korea. It was a missed opportunity. The first thing Lee Junhao did when he returned was to extend another warm invitation to Lu Chen. Lu Chen's second visit to YG was to maintain the friendship between him and his business partners. But this time, he only brought his assistant with him. Lu Xi and Chun Fei went shopping in Myeongdong. The three of them would return to China tomorrow. The plane tickets had already been booked, so today was their last day in Korea. Lu Chen smiled. "President Lee is too polite. Then, I'll accept your invitation." Lee Junhao immediately revealed a bright smile. The president of SYG was in her 30s. She had studied in China for many years, so she was proficient in Mandarin and Chinese culture. Not long after she returned to China, she took over her father's position and took charge of this entertainment management company. It was precisely because of this connection that Lee Junhao attached great importance to the China market. He had set up an office in Beijing a long time ago and actively recommended his contracted artists to expand into the domestic market. However, SYG's capabilities were limited. The few artists that they had promoted were not doing very well in China. It was only when they started working with Lu Chen that the situation changed drastically. Relying on the good cooperation with Lu Chen, many of SYG's artists participated in the filming of Full House of Romance and Autumn in My Blood. As a result, they quickly became popular in China and Korea, and brought SYG a huge source of income. Naturally, Lee Junhao attached great importance to Lu Chen. As they spoke, the group took the elevator to the 5th floor of SYG headquarters. The 3rd and 4th floors were the practice rooms for the trainees, while the 5th and 6th floors were the practice rooms and studios for the debuting artists. The trainee system of Korean entertainment management companies had been around for a long time. It was very strict and the elimination rate of trainees was very high. Even though it was only 1 floor away, one had to put in a lot of sweat and tears to get from the 4th to the 5th floor. One also needed enough luck and talent. The Korean entertainment industry had long been a complete assembly line. There were many artists debuting every year, so the competition was extremely cruel. If they did not become popular within a year or two after debuting, they would basically be eliminated. Of course, this cruelty was not limited to artists. It was the same for entertainment management companies. Today, Li Junhao had warmly invited Lu Chun to visit SYG again. Of course, the main purpose was not to treat Lu Chun to a meal, but to ask him to guide SYG's recently debuted girl group, Girl. There were a total of 7 members in Girl. They were between 17 and 19 years old and were no less than 170 meters tall. All of them had trained at SYG for more than 3 years. SYG had invested a lot of resources in Girl to groom them. At the same time, they had high hopes for Girl to become one of the top girl groups in Korea and become the company's cash cow. However, dreams were beautiful, but reality was cruel. The competition in the girl groups in Korea was fierce to begin with. Girl had just debuted when SM released Kuro, and REOP released Dawn Girls, suppressing Girl to the point where they could not even raise their heads. The market response was very cold. Of course, SYG would not be willing to fail. That was why they had tried so hard to invite Lu Chun, hoping to make use of Lu Chun's talent in music composition to make Girl shine. There were many girl groups in Korea, and there was a serious situation of homogeneity. The girl group members were all young and beautiful, and they could sing and dance. Therefore, the key was whether they had popular works or not. Whether it was Kuro or Dawn Girls, they had master-level songwriters who wrote songs for them. Their debut songs were a huge success. In comparison, Girl was much worse in this aspect. Hello Sensei Lu Chun. In Girl's exclusive practice room, 7 young and beautiful girls were wearing tight practice skirts, revealing their slender and fair thighs. They stood in a row and bowed to greet Lu Chun. What's more, he was using perfect Chinese. Even though Lu Chun was experienced and knowledgeable, he could not help but feel a little dizzy. He quickly nodded and said, "Hello." Girl's manager who accompanied Lu Chun quickly introduced, "Sensei Lu Chun, this is Song Yinghui." The girl whose name was called stepped forward and bowed again. "Hello Sensei Lu Chun." Song Yinghui was the leader of Girl and had the best figure in the group. She was quite bold. While greeting Lu Chun, she also cast a fiery gaze at him. In today's South Korea, Lu Chun was undoubtedly the most popular Chinese star. The number of his fans was even more than that of many of South Korea's A-list artists. The trilogy of Autumn in My Heart, Full House of Romance, and You from the Star had given Lu Chun an extraordinary position in the South Korean entertainment industry. For a new artist like Song Yinghui who had just debuted, it had a different kind of attraction. Most importantly, Lu Chun also held the key to making people famous. Lu Chun did not care too much because he had seen many female fans looking at him with similar gazes. Under the introduction of his manager, he got to know all the members of Girl one by one. It had to be said that being surrounded by so many beautiful girls and being treated as fans to their idols felt very pleasant. However, Lu Chun was not an ordinary person after all. He had enough willpower. After the introduction, he said straightforwardly, "Please perform a work." Unsurprisingly, Lu Chun's request was quickly carried out. Chapter 778. The song that Girl performed for Lu Chun was their debut single, Passion. SYG had high hopes for Girl. Of course, they would not be careless with their debut work. The lyrics and arrangement of Passion were all created by famous artists. Just the choreography alone took them nearly a month to practice. Even the filming of the music video was done with the same emphasis on perfection. Coupled with the publicity, SYG could be said to have spent a lot of money, hoping that Girl would become an instant hit. However, it was very unfortunate that Girl encountered Kuro and Dawn Girls as soon as they debuted. The result was a terrible defeat. Passion only stayed on the K-pop charts for 2 weeks before there was no news, and it was ranked last. This put SYG and Girl in an awkward position, and their subsequent promotions were greatly affected. Inviting Lu Chun could be said to be SYG's move to save Girl. As the accompaniment sounded, the 7 beautiful girls danced a hot dance to the melody. Their performance was very serious, and the rhythm of their dance movements was very strong. Moreover, their cooperation with each other was very tacit, which was pleasing to the eye. In terms of dancing, the average level of Korean artists could be said to be the best in Asia, especially boy or girl groups. They often went through a long period of arduous training, and with excellent choreography, they contributed a lot to the popularity of the Korean wave. Girls' dance was also professional, and they put in 120% of their effort, which made Lu Chun secretly admire them. The rarest thing was that girl danced and sang at the same time. They were singing for real instead of lip-syncing. The 7 girls looked neat, youthful, beautiful, and had their own characteristics. They were hardworking and capable, and with the support of the company they signed with, it was reasonable to say that it would be very easy for them to become famous. However, they were really unlucky. Not only did they encounter a strong opponent, but their debut song was also lackluster. Passion had a strong rhythm and melody, and the climax was remarkable. However, there was nothing special about it, or anything that could make people addicted to it. The style was similar to many Korean pop songs. Luchan had a certain understanding of K-pop, so he quickly realized the problem. He fell into deep thought. After girls' performance ended, they looked at the silent Luchan. They couldn't help but look at each other, a little at a loss of what to do. With Luchan's current popularity and influence in Korea, if he was willing to recommend Girl on FLOO, Girl would definitely gain a wave of fans and even get out of her current awkward situation. However, they also knew very well that even the president of SY, Lee Junhao, might not have the face to make Luchan put in a good word for him. Although both parties had a long and friendly cooperation, in reality, SYG relied more on Luchan. Now, Luchan's evaluation of their performance was very important. The girls nervously looked at Luchan, who was sitting on the chair. Their eyes were filled with anxiety and expectation. The senior members of SYG in the practice room, including Lee Junhao, did not speak. They were afraid that they would disturb Luchan's thoughts. The atmosphere in the room was heavy. After a while, Luchan smiled and said, "Not bad. You all danced well and sang well." Hearing Luchan's positive evaluation, the girls of Girl could not help but feel relieved and smiled sweetly. Lee Junhao smiled bitterly and said, "But this song won't do. She was beautiful, danced well, and sang well. Only the song would not do." Lee Junhao helped Luchan say what he had not said. Luchan smiled and said, "The song lacks some characteristics. I don't have any good guidance in terms of dancing and singing, so I'll write a song for Girl." Luchan wanted to write a song for Girl? Lee Junhao was overjoyed. She had invited Luchan to teach Girl, because she wanted to use Luchan's fame to promote Girl. She did not expect Luchan to be willing to personally write for Girl. She knew that Luchan was a very talented singer and composer. He had extraordinary talent in music. However, in the past year, Luchan had focused on his development in the film industry and had not released a new album for some time. In addition, Lee Junhao also knew that Luchan's price for writing songs was very high. The price of a song could easily crush all the songs in Asia. It was the top tier in Europe and America. It was not that SYG could not afford it, but whether Luchan was willing to do it, whether his song would be suitable for Girl, and whether it would be suitable for the Korean market were all problems. Now that Luchan had taken the initiative to suggest it, the situation was completely different. If he did not have enough confidence or good inspiration, she believed that Luchan would not have said it. That's really great. The girls of Girl were very smart. When they saw Lee Junhao smiling, they looked at each other and then bowed to Luchan in unison. "Thank you, Teacher Luchan." Some of them spoke Mandarin while others spoke Korean. Their voices were crisp and cute. Luchan chuckled and gestured to his assistant to bring his briefcase over. Then, he took out his computer from it. For this trip to Korea, he had brought along a supercomputer that he had bought not long ago. It was installed with a few sets of commonly used composing software so that it would be convenient for him to use when he was out and about. Since he had agreed, Luchan simply started composing on the spot. Because Girl was currently focusing on the Korean market, he did not need to think about the lyrics and directly typed out the music score. His fingers flew across the keyboard, and in just a few minutes he had finished writing a song. The surrounding senior management of SYG were all dumbfounded. They felt that Luchan's songwriting was like child's play. All he had to do was type a few times on the keyboard and he could even sell a song for 10 to 20 million won. For such custom-made works, the composer often had to spend a week or two or even more to prepare. They had to rack their brains to find inspiration, and then fill in the inspiration. Finally, the final product had to be revised repeatedly. They were all suspicious that Luchan was just brushing them off. Did he think that it would be fine if he just casually passed it to them? Luchan did not care what they were thinking. He asked Li Junhao if he could borrow the help of a few professionals to complete the first version of the song. It was not the first time he had done such a thing, and he did not care if it was shocking. Li Junhao could not believe it either, but she immediately complied with Lu Chen's request. Therefore, Lu Chen borrowed SYG's staff and equipment, and spent about 2 hours to turn this song that was tailor-made for girl into a finished product. Of course, due to the limited time, the content and details of the arrangement could not be very rich. However, the basic melody, rhythm, timbre, and so on were all there. If he added in the lyrics, it would be a complete work. After it was completed, Lu Chen played the final product in the testing room. Many of the senior management of SYG, including Li Junhao, as well as the 7 girls from Girl, listened to this work that only had background music. After listening to it, everyone's expressions were colorful. Chapter 779. In the eyes of many of SYG's senior management, what they had seen today was an absolute miracle. God said, "Let there be light," and so there was light. Lu Chen said he would write a song for Girl, and so he did. Although it was a work without lyrics, the quality was so high that it was hard to believe that it was composed in a few minutes. The melody of the song was very light, and the unique rhythm had a strong toxicity. Just hearing it once would make one hum a few lines. It had a magical power that made people listen to it again and again. These SYG executives were not idle people. Their appreciation of pop music was not bad, and some were even professionals. That was why they were so shocked. With this song, as long as it was matched with lyrics and choreography, it would not be a dream for Girl to make a comeback. In the Korean pop music scene, there were many examples of people becoming famous overnight because of one song. It was not a myth for a few classic songs to support a popular girl group, especially in the current situation where Korean pop music was highly homogenized and the audience was tired of it. They knew all too well the power of a good song. The girls of Girl looked at Lu Chen with stars in their eyes, each of them full of joy and admiration. The girls' love for this work came from the bottom of their hearts. The melody and rhythm hit their hearts, and they could not wait to try it out. Ever since their debut, they had been under a lot of pressure. The response to their debut single was mediocre. Faced with strong competitors, although they worked hard, they could not achieve success. At this moment, to them, Lu Chen was like an angel who had descended to the mortal world to save them from their suffering. The girls' burning gazes made Lu Chen feel a little overwhelmed. He coughed twice and said, "That's it for now. Get someone else to write the lyrics and the arrangement needs to be perfected." Li Junhao hurriedly said, "Thank you so much. You've worked hard. I will get someone to draft the copyright transfer contract. Please rest assured." The president of SYG only had one thought in her mind, and that was to sign the contract as soon as possible. She would never forgive herself if she missed this song. Most importantly, with one song there would naturally be a second song. With the support of a talented musical genius like Lu Chen, would Girl be afraid of not being able to beat Kuro and Dawn Maiden? Therefore, she didn't care about the cost at all. No matter how much Lu Chen asked, she would agree unconditionally. Lu Chen smiled and said, "You can discuss the contract with Lu Shi." Li Junhao thought of something and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, what's the name of this song?" Although Lu Chen had asked SYG to add their own lyrics, Li Junhao still hoped that Lu Chen could give the work a name. This was very important. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Just call her G." G. Li Junhao's eyes lit up and he nodded thoughtfully. Very good title. Lu Chen smiled but said nothing. G meant surprise in Korean. In the dream world, this song G was originally one of the representative works of a very famous Korean girl group. It had been popular for a time and won many awards. It had extraordinary magic. The sky had darkened by the time the audition ended. At night, Li Junhao invited Lu Chen to a banquet at the famous Hanjiang Hotel. Girl and many of the higher-ups of SYG accompanied them and were very attentive. Lu Chen rarely drank, but he couldn't resist the enthusiasm of the girls and Girl. He drank a bottle of traditional Korean wine, bamboo charcoal, and was a little tipsy in the end. Li Junhao also drank a few glasses of wine. She smiled and said, "Mr. Lu Chen, I think you're a little drunk. Letting Hui send you upstairs to rest. I've already booked a room here." As she spoke, she gave Song Ing-hui, who was sitting beside Lu Chen, a look. Song Ing-hui was the leader of Girl. Her overall quality was the best among the 7 girls. Her appearance wasn't top-notch, but her figure was outstanding, especially her pair of long legs. Seeing Li Zhenhao's hint, Song Yinghui immediately understood and held onto Lu Chen's arm. Her bouncy breasts pressed tightly against his arm and said sweetly, "Teacher Lu Chen, let me send you upstairs." To be honest, such a youthful and beautiful girl with a soft voice and exotic charm was a great temptation for Lu Chen. Moreover, Li Zhenhao's hint was quite obvious. However, Lu Chen was not drunk. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your warm hospitality, President Li, but I won't be staying here tonight. My girlfriend is still waiting for me in the hotel." His tone was gentle, but his will was very firm. Li Zhenhao was stunned, then smiled and said, "All right then, I'll get someone to send you back." Politely declining Li Zhenhao's good intentions, and ignoring Song Yinghui's resentment, Lu Chen and his assistant took the car sent by SY back to Hotel Shilla. This bunch of Koreans. In the car, Zhang Xiaofeng, the assistant who had followed Lu Chen to Korea, said, "So many tricks." The Korean drinking culture was also very popular. The senior management of SYG were very good at persuading people to drink. If not for Zhang Xiaofeng's help that night, Lu Chen would probably be lying on the floor. But what Zhang Xiaofeng said was not just that. Lu Chen laughed involuntarily. He had long heard of the unspoken rules in the Korean entertainment industry, but he did not expect it to happen to him. It was just that Li Zhenhao's honey trap was really playing with the wrong target. Unlike those artists who became unscrupulous after becoming famous, Lu Chen had always kept his bottom line in the huge entertainment industry. The more famous he was, the more careful he was with his words and actions. It was actually very easy for a person to fall into depravity. It was very difficult to stay clean in the entertainment industry that was filled with countless temptations, but he had his own persistence. Therefore, even if Chen Fei was not here in Korea, Lu Chen would not be tempted by Song Yinghui. Back in the room, Chen Fei was sitting in the living room chatting with Lu Xi. There were bags of various sizes on the carpet in the living room. It looked like they had gained a lot today. Seeing the drunken Lu Chen return, Chen Fei hurriedly got up to support him. Lu Xi said angrily, "Why did you drink so much? It stinks." Lu Chen smiled bitterly. "I didn't want to drink too much. The people from SYG were really too passionate. I really couldn't handle it. Luckily Brother Zhang was here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to come back tonight." He had a lingering fear just thinking about it. If he had been drunk and completely sinned, it would be hard to say what would have happened next. Of course, Li Zhenhao did not have any ill intentions towards him, but her good intentions were even more unbearable. Chen Fei laughed. "Is it because you have a beautiful girl with you that you can't bear to come back?" Lu Chen laughed. "Hurry up and take a bath. Otherwise it would be hard to explain." On the 8th of January, Lu Chen ended his trip to Korea and returned to Beijing with Chen Fei, Lu Xi, and the rest. Chapter 780. When Lu Chen returned to Beijing, the first snow of the new year had just fallen in the capital. The snow was so heavy that the flight from Seoul to Beijing was delayed for more than 5 hours. Therefore, when they arrived at Beijing International Airport, it was already past 11 o'clock in the evening. What surprised Lu Chen was that there were still a large number of fans in the terminal to pick him up when the flight was delayed for such a long time. Seeing Lu Chen and others coming out of the passenger passage, these fans immediately let out earth-shattering cheers. They held up various posters, support signs, flowers, gifts, and so on. The scene was quite amazing. For the current Lu Chen, it was normal to meet fans or reporters who came to pick him up at the airport. Because his popularity was so high, there was no need to arrange professional fans at all. There were still a lot of real fans to support him. It was said that the airline company specialized in selling the flight information of celebrity artists to the fan groups, so the fans could know the movements of their idols at any time and surround the airport. In this regard, Lu Chen had long been used to it. But today it snowed for a day, the plane was delayed for such a long time, and so many fans waited for his return. It really made him very touched and even embarrassed. "Thank you." Lu Chen took the flowers and gifts from the hands of 2 female fans and smiled to express his gratitude. Several female fans who squeezed to the front were so excited that their faces were red. The people behind them tightly surrounded them, causing chaos at the scene. Fortunately, the airport arranged enough personnel to maintain order. According to the usual practice, Lu Chan should speed up and leave. The car to pick him up was already waiting outside. But today's situation was really special. He really couldn't leave the fans who had waited for him for such a long time. So he took the initiative to take the crowd to the side and signed autographs and took photos for these fans one by one. Of course, the fans were overjoyed and spontaneously lined up with good manners. Their hard waiting was finally not in vain. Not only could they get Lu Chen's autograph, but they also got Chan Fei's. It was a great deal. Lu Chan signed a fan's autograph and asked, "Now that the subway has stopped, how are you going to go back?" The fan replied, "My friend and I are going to take a taxi back." Take a taxi? Lu Chan could not help but frown. It was already very late, and the most convenient and fast subway was already out of service. There were definitely taxis at the airport, but it was probably very difficult to get one due to the snow, and there were so many fans. He immediately said to Lu Xi, "Sister, can you call and ask if you can get a few cars to send them back?" Lu Xi nodded and immediately called the bus. She helped Lu Chan manage the studio and Qinfei Media, and built up a considerable network in the capital. This was naturally not a problem for her. It only took a few minutes for Lu Xi to contact a car. She relied on her relationship with Beijing television. When the fans heard that Lu Chan had specially arranged a bus for them to go back, there was no need to mention how considerate and moved they were. They posted photos in their respective blogs and circles of friends, and all of them were very happy. Do you have an idol that warms your heart? When other fans saw this, they all expressed their envy and jealousy. Some even said that they would rush to the airport immediately. After this torment, when Lu Chan and Chan Fei returned home, it was already past 1 o'clock in the morning. Both of them were exhausted to death. After a simple wash, they went to bed and slept until dawn. The next day, Lu Chan and Chan Fei rushed to the headquarters of Central TV together. The two of them were here to participate in the first official rehearsal of the 2018 Spring Festival Gala. Central TV's rehearsal was different from ordinary galas. Ordinary galas had loose requirements for the participating stars. Usually, the stars did not need to participate in the rehearsal, or only needed to participate once. However, Central TV was different. No matter how big the stars were, they had to participate in the official rehearsal to be selected for the Spring Festival Gala. Unless there was a special reason, they could not ask for leave. If they could not accept this rule, then they could forget about this stage that was watched by millions of people. In the past, the Spring Festival Gala was actually not so strict, especially when it came to Hong Kong and Taiwanese stars. However, in recent years this rule had been implemented very well, and there had been stars who were kicked out because of this. For this year's Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chan and Chan Fei both had performances, so the first rehearsal was definitely not to be missed. It was not that the two of them valued the Spring Festival Gala very much, but there was no need to break the rules. Therefore, they still took it very seriously and rushed over more than an hour in advance. The Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal was held in Central TV's Broadcasting Studio 1. When the two of them entered, they went through multiple security checks. In order to prevent the surging social media and internet celebrities from entering the Spring Festival Gala's rehearsal site to secretly take pictures and leak the contents of the Spring Festival Gala, Central TV's confidentiality of the first rehearsal could be said to be airtight. All bags and mobile phones of the audience were not allowed inside. And there were also strict rules for reporters and entertainers. When the two of them appeared backstage in the broadcasting studio, it immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Recently, in terms of the limelight, no one in the domestic entertainment industry could compare to Lu Chan, especially since he had just defeated Taekwondo master Li Ziqing in South Korea. The media was abuzz and he was almost put on a pedestal. It really makes people not convinced. Lu Chan has the height, the appearance, the talent, the ability to write and fight, and the skill is extraordinary. He is simply the perfect big star. Whether it was out of sincerity or insincerity, regardless of whether they were friends or not, the celebrities who were already waiting backstage all greeted Lu Chan and Chan Fei with a smile or warmly. Among them there were also friends of the two, such as Lu Gangsheng, Tan Hong, etc. In addition to these two evergreen trees in the industry, there were also many big stars and emerging artists. It could be said that the stars were shining. Lu Gangsheng, like Chen Fei, was participating in the Spring Festival Gala for the third time this year. He flew to Beijing a few days ago. Now that they saw Lu Chan, Everyone was naturally happy to be reunited after a long time. Tan Hong had originally retired from the music industry, but because of the invitation of the great director Chan Guoji, he also came. However, he would not be appearing alone, but participating in a singing program with a group of stars. And the song for the chorus was written by Lu Chun. Tan Hong opened his arms and gave him a strong hug. He praised, "You have won glory for the country. Come to my house for dinner tonight. Your sister-in-law said that she wants to welcome a hero." Lu Chun laughed and said, "How can I be considered a hero? Thank you so much, sister-in-law." As the two of them were chatting and laughing, Chan Guoji appeared backstage. The first official rehearsal for the Spring Festival Gala was about to begin. Chapter 781. According to previous year's practices, a Spring Festival Gala usually had 4.5 hours of content, and rehearsals lasted even longer. No matter how big the names were, even after they finished rehearsing, they could not leave immediately. This was because they still had to analyze and judge the effects of the program, so they often had to stay for more than half a day. Lunch was provided by Central TV. Whether it was celebrities, guest artists, extras, or staff, they all ate boxed lunches, and the quality of the lunches was the same. Of course, celebrities who were not used to eating boxed lunches could prepare their own meals, but basically no one would do that. Lu Chun and Chen Feier were no exception. They received their own boxed lunches during the lunch break. Even though Central TV's boxed lunches were the standard price of 58 yuan, there were countless people in the industry who wanted to eat this boxed lunches. Every year celebrities, big or small, racked their brains to get in, but only a few succeeded. This was the first time Lu Chun had eaten a boxed lunchbox from Central TV. "All the meat is for you." Chen Feier picked out the beef from the lunchbox and put it into Lu Chun's lunchbox. "I weighed it this morning and it's half a caddy heavier. I want to lose 1 caddy." Lu Chun did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You still need to lose? Not eating meat is not good for your health." Chen Feier picked up the last piece of meat with his chopsticks and stuffed it into his mouth. "I know what I'm doing. Stop nagging." Lu Chun's mouth was stuffed with meat. He shook his head speechlessly. Then, he picked up his own radish strips and broccoli for Chen Feier. The two of them hid in a corner and were lovey-dovey. But the others who saw them felt suffocated, especially those single dogs, who were fed a big mouthful of dog food. Moreover, he kept on feeding them until someone stood up fearlessly. Cough, cough. A loud cough forced Lu Chun to stop his inhumane public display of affection. He turned his head and was almost blinded. What a big bald head! "Ah!" Lu Chun quickly stood up and greeted politely. "Hello, Teacher Gao." There were 3 famous baldies in the entertainment industry. They were all big shots in their respective industries. One was a pop singer, one was a movie actor, and the last one was the skit artist in front of them, Gao Desheng. He had a big bald head, squinting eyes, a bulbous nose, thick lips. The way he smiled had a charm that made people laugh. This was a face that everyone in the country was very familiar with. It was an ugly face that had a unique personality. But Gao Desheng did not live up to the name of an artist because of other people's flattery, but because of the reputation he had accumulated in his more than 20 years of acting career. He was a senior who truly excelled in both virtue and skill. Disregarding everything else, just the Spring Festival Gala alone, he had participated in it 7 times. This year would be his 8th. Chen Feier did not dare to neglect this senior in the industry. He quickly put down the lunchbox and stood up to greet him. Gao Desheng smiled and said, "Take a seat. I'm just here to have a chat. Sorry for disturbing you." Lu Chun and Chen Feier were a little embarrassed. Lu Chun quickly said, "Not at all. We just finished eating." Gao Desheng sat down with a smile and said to him, "Actually, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. It's just that the timing was not right. Today I finally got the chance." Gao Desheng took the initiative to find Lu Chun. He wanted to talk to Lu Chun about the skit script written by Lu Chun. At that time, the executive director of this year's Spring Festival Gala, Chen Guoji, found Lu Chun and invited Lu Chun to participate in the Spring Festival Gala of the Year of the Dog. As a result, Lu Chun took out 2 original works and a skit script and threw them to the great director. Chen Guoji originally expected Lu Chun to come up with a good program. He did not expect Lu Chun to come up with 3, and all of them were excellent, which made him unable to give them up. However, it was not easy for Chang Guozhi to put all 3 programs on the Spring Festival Gala. First of all, he did not have the final say in the Spring Festival Gala. He had to face all kinds of interests, so it was impossible for him to do as he pleased. But in the end, Chang Guozhi still eliminated the difficulties and pushed Lu Chen's works as the focus of the program. For this reason, he specially invited many big names to ensure the effect of the program. For example, Chang Guozhi gave the skit written by Lu Chen to Gao Dusheng. The latter's image not only matched the setting of the characters in the script, but his acting skills were enough to crush a lot of his peers. It should be known that Lu Chen's skit had squeezed out another program of the same kind that had already been selected. No one said it openly, but there were a lot of people talking about it behind it. God knew how many pairs of eyes were watching it. Gao Dusheng and Chang Guozhi had been friends for many years, so he understood the weight of it. Out of a serious and responsible attitude towards work, he took the initiative to talk to the original author, Lu Chen, during the lunch break. It sounded like a very normal thing. There was nothing to fuss about when actors and scriptwriters communicated. But in fact, many actors nowadays did not care about the author at all. You just had to write the script, and how you acted was up to me. There was no need for you to tell me what to do. That was the director's job. In fact, many celebrity artists did not even listen to the director's words and often acted on their own. Gao Dusheng was a big name in the industry. When he appeared on the stage of the Spring Festival Gala, Lu Chen was still running around naked. Moreover, no matter how famous Lu Chen was, they were not on the same level as him. He did not need to care about Lu Chen at all. But Gao Dusheng used a very equal and even humble attitude to communicate with Lu Chen about the creative intention, plot idea, spiritual connotation, and so on of the work. Lu Chen naturally told him everything he knew. And when it came to analyzing the work, he felt that he was not as good as Gao Dusheng. This made Lu Chen feel rather ashamed. After all, the source of his work was his memories from the dream world. The exchange between the two of them lasted for more than an hour until the staff assistant came over to remind him. Gao Dusheng said to Lu Chen, "This is the best script I've received in the past 10 years. Lu Chen, I really hope that you can create a few more scripts. We're really lacking good scripts right now." Gao Dusheng was speaking from the bottom of his heart. In recent years, the viewership ratings of Central TV's Spring Festival Gala had been declining year by year. The audience's evaluation of language shows was getting worse and worse, and he was feeling anxious about it. The script that Lu Chen had brought out really made Gao Dusheng feel like he had finally met a good rain after a long drought. Lu Chen nodded and said, "Teacher Gao, I'll do my best." Gao Dusheng smiled in relief. "Thank you." This word of thanks was not only for himself, but also for the entire skit industry. The afternoon rehearsal did not end until 4 p.m., but Lu Chen was not able to leave early, because a director from Central TV personally came over to invite him for a discussion. And the content of the discussion was about the martial arts movie, The Smiling Proud Wanderer, that Chunfei Media would start shooting after the Spring Festival.